Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and I'm joined by regular co-host Mr.
Andy Conduit Tenor. Hello, Ben, and indeed everyone, especially a special guest this week.
A very, very special guest. Thank you so much for joining us. Jaylan Salah Eldin is a Egyptian feminist visionary artist, published poet, author, and translator, plus co-host of the Funny Gal talk show. Welcome to the show, Jaylan.
Hello, Ben and Andy. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Hey, thanks for coming to join us.
We are also very excited. Thanks so much for joining us. An absolute pleasure to have you here with us today.
I'm so happy to be here, guys.
All the way from Egypt as well.
Yeah, and having heard you speak on another couple of podcasts from a couple of weeks back, actually, Stu was on talking about Tremors with us. I heard you on his podcast, the And Why Not podcast. It's very nice to have an air of legitimacy and actual knowledge of, you know, the work of authors and filmmaking on board with us to talk a movie this week, rather than our nonsense.
It's always good. That's always good. That just raises the level of the podcast just ever so slightly, or you know, a huge amount. There's a high ceiling for it, I feel.
Oh, guys, thank you. It's scaring me even more. I'm just a nudge up. Come on.
And all the way from Alexandria in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yes. So Horror Hangout goes international. I mean, we've definitely had international guests before, but this is super exciting. How is it in Alexandria today?
The weather is actually fine. It's not that cold. It used to be colder a few weeks ago, but now it's like nice. It's chill, and in the morning it's so beautiful.
Oh wow. I can't say the same for Bristol right now. It is incredibly cold. How about Perth, Andy?
If it gives you any indication of the temperature, Ben, my mom tells me that apparently outside in Scotland today I might see the Northern Lights. So I'll be nipping out just after we finish recording, like the polar bears drinking a Coke, seeing if I can see the Northern Lights up here.
People pay a lot of money to see the Northern Lights, and you can just wander out into your back garden and have a look.
Knowing that it'll be cloudy, but I'm going to try after we finish.
Take a photo, please. Send it to us.
How exciting. Yeah, exactly. Please, I'm there waiting.
Yeah, we want to see that. We want to see that stuff. Jaylan, can you tell us a bit more about the Funny Gal talk show? Because I mean, just from the title of it, it does sound like something I'd like to listen to. But
okay,
what kind of happens?
We're just two funny girls, you know, like Michelle, my friend, my co-host, is from New York and I'm from Egypt, and we have the same sense of humor. We found that we have a lot in common, so we keep talking about, you know, like some of the things that happen to us, some of the things that we have a different outlook on life. Mostly it's cynical and it's kind of like a little bit inappropriate at times, so we just try to engage listeners and watchers with us into our crazy, chaotic world, where we also comment on a lot of things that happen in real life. Like we had an embarrassing moments episode, we have a breast episode coming up, we have this throwing shade episode, which is so, you know, like a bad bitch episode. So yeah, this one was crazy too. And I had a friend, like not a friend, like a Twitter follower, coming to me like very excited and enthusiastic. Yeah, this shade episode is so good. I had a similar like situation and I felt like this deep, like this guru, you know, like, okay, child, okay, we've all been there. I felt like I'm doing a difference with comedy, which is what I'm trying to do, like at least connect with people, make them feel kind of like more in connection with others. So this is what we try to do. I don't think we have a major goal with our show, but we just want to have fun, want to chill, and want to let people in to our crazy world along the way.
No, I can fully appreciate that, Jaylan. I mean, it was Luke and Ben that started Horror Hangout. I just tagged along later on. But now, for me, it's a great excuse to have a couple of hours aside every week where I'm mostly going to catch up with my friends and have a lovely chat about things that we like. And if we happen to record it and then, you know, between 3 and 5 people listen to it, then that's fine. That's good. I'm happy.
I think that's it, isn't it? Like you kind of start off as just having fun, and then when other people come into that circle, and then the circle grows, like you have the sort of inner circle, and then more people are coming, and it's really exciting when people say, "I've listened to this show and I really enjoyed this part," or you know, something like that. That's always good, always fun.
And I think this is what I do too. Like, I loved your podcast. So I like came to you and like, guys, I want to be on your podcast. This is what I do a lot of the times. Like, I listen to a podcast and I feel so interested in the energy, in the banter, in the, like back and forth. So I feel like I want to be part of that because, maybe I'm a poet. So I always want to get more emotions thrown into my life, more, like energies, collective energies, and meeting different people. So for me, meeting Michelle was something that changed my life. Meeting Stuart from And Why Not podcast was also something that changed my life. So hopefully I get to generate this as well and do it to other people.
Sounds great. Sounds like
Amazing.
a great way of meeting people as well.
You brought up emotions. Now, of course, in the Horror Hangout podcast, fear is a big one that we lean into in horror movies. The emotions they inspire in all of us. It's your first time joining us, Jaylan. Tell us about your history as a horror fan. What are your earliest ones growing up? What subgenres of horror do you enjoy? Give us your horror history.
My horror history is that my mom is to everybody outside this sweet lady, this loving person. She's very kind. She gives to the community, blah, blah, blah. But she's a crazy horror fan. Like, she watches the real shit, the scariest, goriest, like B movies. Like, Mom, what are you watching? And I walk by and she's having this screen and she's doing this. And then later on, she's probably feeding stray cats and stuff like that. So this is my mom for me. So we grew up with her wanting to share with us her love of horror. And I was a really scared kid. And I'm like, no, Mom, just keep it to yourself, please. Thank you. I'd rather watch action movies and stuff like that, which is what I was more drawn into. Until I had this dish party at my house, bringing in my friends from school. And they were like, what are we going to watch? We had a crazy horror movie buff. She's like, guys, I have the Evil Dead, the original version. I'm like, no, guys, I don't want to watch this movie, please. And she's like, no, come on, Jay, don't be, like a wuss. Come on, let's open it and watch. What's going to happen? And I watch it. And I was about, I think, 10 years old. And while we were watching it, I had an out-of-body experience like, what is this deranged hell that I got myself into? After they left, I was alone with my computer. She had the DVD. And I didn't want to go near the computer. I was like, okay, someone is going to come out of there and snatch my soul back into this thing. I kept the horror enclosed within me. And then I think I wanted to relive this experience again. I wanted to feel, like what I felt that day, like being seeing something unexpected, having the fear like thrown into my face, even as aggressively as that was. So I started seeking out more horror movies, upping the game, blah, blah, blah. But I think what I wasn't really interested in was the goriest torture porn stuff. Like, I wasn't interested in that. But whatever monster, whatever, like scary ass looking shit out there, I just went and saw it. And even unknown ones, like things by weird directors, and started discovering, like something like gothic horror and falling in love with it, and psychedelic horror and feeling like different feelings, like I'm tripping or something. So I think my journey with horror started with that movie, Evil Dead, watching it with my friends. And then I went into the wild seeking other experiences where I would be just jumping off my seat or just getting tense.
Oh, that's amazing. What a great story. And what a film to start with, right? Evil Dead. What a time.
Oh, yeah. Evil Dead is absolutely amazing, like, jumping off point. I think I saw Evil Dead 2 before I saw the original Evil Dead, and that was one of my earliest horror experiences. I used to watch films on TV when my mum didn't know I was watching films. I used to watch them in silence, but with the subtitles on. So pretty much, like, probably I reckon the first 10 to 15 horror films I saw, I watched them in silence with subtitles, because I didn't want my mum to so she would only come in and switch it off. It wouldn't be a case of she'd sort of scold me in any way, but she did. I just wanted to watch it, so I saw that. I saw things like From Dusk Till Dawn. I think I saw Poltergeist. But yeah, those initial horror experiences tend to be what shape you and shape your tastes as well.
One of my earliest horror memories, as we're sharing, like, it's little snatches of things that I saw too young. Like, I think I mentioned just last week, then, my uncle's Freddy Krueger poster on his wall. But one of the earliest programs, a bit like yours, watching, like, just having like a TV it was in my room for some reason. I didn't have a TV in my room at the time, but maybe I'd been sick or something like that. So there was a TV that had been taken through into my bedroom because I was basically in bed all day or couldn't get out of bed for whatever reason. So I'd been there. So therefore the TV was in my room and it was on. And I think I was awake in the night and I'd flicked through the channels and I had a glimpse of, and I've never seen this film in full, I might have to try and crowbar it onto the agenda one day, just a bit of Hugh Grant vehicle, The Lair of the White Worm, which is based on a wicked old legend. One of my favorite ones. It's the Lambton worm, but it's made into where a horrible socialite lady's got big horrible worm teeth. And I just remember flicking through the channels and then seeing this lady roll her head back and having these implausibly large old fangs in her mouth and switching the TV off, almost like, oh no, what have I done? I've looked at something that I shouldn't have, and now I'm afraid it's going to take it's going to take a long time to recover from this. But yeah, from there, always sort out the extras. But before horror, even my mum used to let me stay up and watch Channel 4. Used to have a creature feature on, and it used to be on quite late at night. It was 10, 11 o'clock. But if I was awake, they'd either record it for me because I'd inevitably fall asleep, or they'd have it. I could stay awake for as long as I managed, and I'd watch an old Godzilla movie, which aren't scary. Godzilla's a good guy, but then The Blob would be on as well, like the 1950s, The Blob, and things like that. And I got that, that love for sort of horror movie and monster movies from there. I've brought Godzilla along to the podcast the once so far with Shin Godzilla, right? But
that's right. How and why did we choose the film for this week then?
I was talking to Jaylan about films we wanted to cover, and at first I think we talked about Run, Sweetheart, Run, which was one of the films that it cracked my top 10 last year. But then when we got round to scheduling the episode, I think we both watched it quite recently, but not in that sweet spot where we hadn't watched it. We probably hadn't watched it recently enough to have it fresh in our memories to be able to talk through it. But at the same time, it'd been still quite recently, so maybe you're not quite ready for a rewatch yet. So I thought, right, let's have a look. Speaking to Jaylan about the things that she was interested in, we spoke about female-led horror stories and things like that, and some elements of the supernatural and so on that came in. I'd heard our colleagues over at Nightmare on Film Street mention it. I think it was one of Kim's movies that she mentioned from last year. They debated whether it was a horror movie or not, or more of a thriller. We'll get into that. But that's what put it on my radar. So I pulled it from the watch list, suggested it. Jaylan, you were happy to go for it. You say you're a big fan, right?
Very big fan. I love Ana Lily Amirpour a lot, seriously, because I don't feel she's apologetic with the way she portrays her females. Yes, I know A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night was scarier than this one and creepier, but still, the idea that she manifests this female unknown into a universe that is usually hostile to her, this is what draws me to her movies. So this is what I felt with Mona Lisa Lee here in this movie. The idea that she was this other walking through the town, New Orleans, which I really want to visit after watching this movie, honestly. So yeah, for me, it was my love for the director, and then the idea she portrays females in horror. The idea that they just exist there and you don't know a backstory and there is no sad story. And she was like, oh yeah, this happened to her, so she is what she is because of that. No, I don't care about that. And sometimes I feel like it's even more exciting to explore people in that sort of light. So this is what drew me to it, and then I fell in love with everything else, like the cinematography, of course, the actors, the music, a lot of things.
Oh, yeah, it's a great soundtrack. Visually, it does look great as well. I didn't even realize it was Ana Lily Amirpour.
Amirpour, yeah.
Amirpour. I didn't even realize it was her. So we've covered A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night on this podcast.
One of my all-time, not just horror, all-time favorite. Are you guys serious? I love this movie. I'm mad about it. No, I should stop. I love it so much.
Don't stop. If you love something, then please let us know. You gush about it. Talk about it as much as you like. We love that.
It's like an amazing, Red Riding Hood flipped, but at the same time, it's set in this city that I feel has a bit of a Persian air to it, where you feel the dynamics between men and women is different. She is wearing, like the veil or whatever, and she is walking at night, where you could feel, yes, this is not the place for a woman to be walking freely without being harassed or kind of like hurt by men. But she has this power within her, and she can be hurting them as well. So, and then we see the guy that she meets. He's sort of this angel, like he is the opposite, like he is the damsel in a way, but at the same time she doesn't save him or be saved. So for me, Anna does this thing with women, that she just portrays them in an eerie way without making it like a fetish virgin. It's not beautiful. It's not like the early vamps. It's something that is just there, but at the same time, this woman is out looking for trouble without actually sexualizing this trouble seeking aspect of it all. She's just a normal girl. She's not in any way attractive or sexy, but at the same time, she has this thing about her that makes you want to follow her on this journey. So besides, it's like the names of the title. How did she come up with this? For me, I feel it's genius. Some of the scenes where she just speaks, it's so rare, and at the same time, you could feel that she was inspired by Dracula himself. The idea of this sad monster roaming the streets looking for another victim, but not feeling that happy about it. So I just love this.
I think when you say the titles, I think the title of A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, it evokes this thought of what kind of film it's gonna be. If you don't know anything about the film, you kind of automatically assume that the girl who walks home alone at night is going to be the person who is in peril, who is the victim essentially. And that's kind of what it evoked for me, and whether that's like obviously in terms of my familiarity with the genre. So yeah, I really, really did love that film. And this Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon really went under the radar for me, because I'm surprised that I didn't know anything about it, considering it's got like quite a high profile cast as well, especially in comparison to A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. Yeah, it really went under the radar. And I mean, yeah, in terms of genre, you might say, it sits more in the thriller, mystery, science fiction, fantasy. I know I've just said pretty much four genres there. And there is a certain element of horror, but it's not like front and center. So when we do get into the film, I've read a couple of interesting things about it, which I will bring to the table to ask everybody's opinion. But yeah.
Draw you a parallel, Ben, if it makes you feel any differently, and we can help with our horror connections here. I said before we recorded, we have unironically positioned, classic horror movies like Congo, but also films like Dunstan checks in the horror genre. You can find horror anywhere that you look for it. Immediately, if I'm drawing parallels with this one, the character dynamics are different, and it has a lot more of a kindness to it, as well as some of the brutality of the world, but picked up a lot of Stephen King's Firestarter from this, in the powers of some of the character, the things that they don't understand, the dynamics between the person who is taking care of, who is taking care of whom in the dynamic as well. I picked up a lot from that, and it's a film made, several decades after Stephen King's Firestarter, and the effects are not quite so shonky. Yeah, but that one as well, looking at the director's filmography as well, I think you guys have covered Girl Walks Home Alone at Night far more eloquently than I could add anything to. But I see also in that filmography we have the Bad Batch as well, which was recommended to us by some, apologies, I'm blanking on the director that we interviewed as part of Friday Night last year, who listed it as their favorite horror movie.
Oh wow! Okay.
The Bad Batch as well as added to my list that I need to get round and watch pretty soon. And Jaylan, hearing you talk about the dynamics and the power of the characters that come across in this director's movies, have you seen, completely different director, but based on what you love, we'll call it an absolute live film recommendation. Have you seen 2022's House of Darkness yet?
No.
Oh, you must. You absolutely must. I'm not going to say very much about it. I'm going to read the synopsis so I don't give anything away unintentionally.
You've told me about this, haven't you, Andy?
House of Darkness. I have. A House of Darkness 2022 by Neil LaBute. Once upon a time, Driving home to a secluded estate after meeting in a local bar, a player out to score thinks his beautiful, mysterious date will soon be another casual hookup. While getting acquainted, their flirtation turns into playful, sexy, and sinister tones. Hoping to get lucky, his luck may have just run out. Genuinely, I don't want to spoil anything. Like there's not that much intensity about some of the things that physically happen on screen, but I have not felt so tense with just dialogue in a movie so effectively written, in my opinion, that long before there is anything that you would describe as horror happening on the screen, I felt uncomfortable from like the second minute of this movie, just from the intensity of the conversation. It's really, really effective. I would recommend watching it immediately.
Oh my goodness, I have to watch it now. You got me so intrigued.
Really, really good. Really, really good.
I will.
Of
Definitely.
course,
I have it. Add it to my watch list immediately.
Get it on that watch list. And I know the last thing I'll mention on this before we get into it, the rest of the episode, and we will cover it in more detail. I know that Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon is a story about, is a woman's story, and there is about two characters in particular. However, I was really, really fascinated by the way men were portrayed in this film, because even every single character that you think could be a threat or like a sinister thought seems to not be. And I found that really fascinating. Like even someone who seems like they're a drug dealer, a bouncer, a police officer, all of these people that you think, okay, these are going to be the people who. Now, of course, there is a particular group of men who do represent that side of toxic masculinity and misogyny. However, there are like at least 3 or 4 male characters in this who are really important, I feel like, to the overall balance of this film. And I just found it really fascinating how they were represented, because any other filmmaker could have easily just gone, right, okay, every male character in this film is just going to be a bastard. However, they have such an interesting story to tell. And especially characters that sort of kind of, you think you're done with them and they reappear later on as well.
Yeah. There's some great character work, and we'll talk about the specific one that you mean, because, you know, we have a very different perception, I'm sure. But like the second, you know, just as a film member, an audience member, watching Ed Skrein's character first appear on screen, I was like,
yeah,
this is this is going to be a,
from like the way he was, just from the way he was dressed, and of course some of his behavior perhaps isn't entirely, on the money, but for the most part, he seems like a good guy. So yeah, I think it was interesting.
Before we get into it, though, Ben, do you have any news for us this week?
Sorry. Horror news usually comes right at the top of the show, but we've already got into it. Obviously, we're incredibly excited to be talking about the film today. So in terms of news, we've got one big piece of news that we wanted to share. So Janine Pipe, friend of the show, returning guest, regular guest as well, has released or unveiled the Indiegogo campaign for her new short film called Footsteps, and she's going to be writing and directing it from her production company Pipe Screams Productions, and the executive producer on hand is Neil Marshall of Dog Soldiers and The Descent fame. Obviously, Janine Pipe wrote the book Sausages, which is all about the making of Dog Soldiers, so now she's got Neil Marshall on board, and the tagline is, "Some laws are meant to be broken." A group of young women head into Marshall Woods, intending to find inspiration for their book about a local missing person, and they soon discover they are not alone and unwittingly begin a bloody fight for survival against a terrifying and unnatural antagonist. So yeah, I think it's probably a good idea for us to get Janine onto the show to discuss this and in greater detail. We will also put the link to the Indiegogo campaign in the show notes, just so you can go and check it out if it sounds like something you'd be interested in.
And there's a really good video on there as well. If you check out the link, there's a video where Janine explains the story, the passion for creating the movie. We know from following Janine's work, she's a passionate filmmaker, and she's thrown herself into this really, really headlong. She filmed her first directing debut short. Her, the time is flying by. This year is disappearing before our eyes. She filmed the horror short a few weeks ago now. I look forward to seeing that a great deal. But yeah, she's moved straight into this next project with a short story that she found herself a really nice audience as part of an anthology, and it's leaning into her passions for supernatural creatures, for body horror, for putting up together some great low budget buckets of blood kind of horror. And from a quick check-in on the campaign, it's going well, but can always use more support. So all sorts of things available as you would expect. You're backing a short film being made, so anything from thank you credits up to copies of the film when it's released on physical media if you so wish, right up to feeling a bit flush, you want yourself named as a associate or executive producer. Those credits are on there. Fancy seeing yourself on IMDb, really upping your how many links there are between you and Kevin Bacon. There'll be one. Get yourself on there.
5 degrees of separation. Exciting stuff. We'll put the link in the show notes to that. You go, Janine. We love Janine. We love Janine. She joined us for an episode talking about Silver Bullet. She's our resident werewolf expert. She loves the werewolves, loves the lycanthropes. Okay, other bits of news. There's a trailer for the documentary Living with Chucky, which is all about the Child's Play franchise being a family affair. I think I may have mentioned this at some point in the past. I can't entirely remember. However, there's a new trailer which sort of discusses it. It's coming out. It's going to be on Screenbox, which obviously is getting some good stuff on there. There's behind this, obviously, all the franchise's mainstays, including Brad Dourif and Jennifer Tilly, for example, all talking about the franchise as a whole, which sounds great. I guess they'll be talking about all the movies, talking about the TV show as well. Are you a fan of Child's Play, Jaylan?
I watched the first one, I think, but then it got stupider as it went. But I don't know. It didn't do it for me. The first one was wow, damn, I don't want to have a doll like that. I hate dolls. Especially these dolls with lashes and shit. And I had a lot of them growing up. Relatives for some reason thought it was cute to get me those. I just kind of I do a lot of mean things to them, my sister and I. So I watched and I felt like I was right about that in the beginning. Yeah, I knew it, you bitch. This is why I love the first one. Then
I think I've only seen the first one as well, It's another one of those, despite the fact that we watch horror on this podcast every single week. I've only seen I've only seen the first one. I've not seen any more. I've not seen the TV show either. Go on.
Challenge yourself on those prejudices. I think it's great. Only Child's Play. I feel like a broken record on this one because I've mentioned it not too long ago. But because we have the creative hand of Don Mancini, so the original creator of the series, he's directed a couple, but he's written throughout. You have a horror franchise that is 7 movies and 2 TV series in now, which is not tripping over its own continuity. It still works. He is inexplicably not ended up in space yet. And there's, it never takes itself all that seriously. It's still a series that knows how to have fun. The quality of movies will vary by the era that it lives in and the budget that they clearly had at any one time. But one of the major parts of it, again, not spoiling outings that happen, but Brad Dourif, so horror character actor legend, I would say at this point, has voiced Chucky, the killer doll, for a significant portion of his career, since the 1980s now. His daughter Fiona Dourif is now a mainstay of the series. She's been in the last couple of movies. She's in both series of the TV show so far. It's a lot of fun to watch. That first series is on Shudder now. I think the second one, it screened on Sci-Fi here in the UK, but really, really solid. And it's not a Netflix show, so it's made it past 2 series without being cancelled. So we got another one coming as well.
Amazing.
And it's a lot of fun. I mean, don't go in there thinking, I'm looking for a serious, scientifically plausible story here.
What? A dolly can't come to life? Is that
Yeah,
what
I'm
you're
afraid
saying?
not. Not with the technology we have today, unless it's a Mithrigan. In that case, confirmed.
Oh yeah, that's a robot.
Yeah, robots, yes. Ghost dollies, no. Yeah, I have a lot of time for this series. I'm going to be checking in on season 3 of Chucky as soon as it's out.
And you know how much I love.
Too. I have to watch it then, Andy. At least the first one, first
Yeah,
series.
watch that. Yeah, I would say even if you don't go through and there is nothing in the in the films that you could not catch up with if you just got onto the series, because it will introduce these things piece by piece. You'll get a lot of it and you'll be rewarded for every one of the other films that you've watched, but you could go in cold on the series. And a lot to be said for again, said this before we recorded, young actors aren't shit anymore like they used to be when we were growing up, when we had the 80s that was all about child actors. Then I feel like from the 90s to the 2010s, we had a period where child actors were insufferable in everything and were just pretty bad. But now, children who are actors, like children and young teenagers, they're really good. It's got a really diverse, progressive. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It's a good, fun series.
Well, you know how much I love a documentary about horror as well. Not only In Search of Darkness parts 1, 2, and 3 that we've enjoyed over the last few months, but also 101 Scariest Movie Moments, which I'm near the end of on Shudder. I'll take a Living with Chucky documentary. I'll take a documentary about any horror franchise there is. I just love hearing the story, like filmmakers' stories and just people who love the franchise and stuff. I think it's great. I think it's a really great way of solidifying your love of horror. Just finding out what makes people tick, who bring these characters to the screen.
You know what, too? Like for me, watching a documentary about the Evil Dead, the making, it made me kind of like breaking the fourth wall. Like, yeah, they're not real, Jay. Come on, they're not real. See, these are the actors. Like, or at least I think seeing something about Salah, making of Salah or something like that. Like seeing people talk about it because it was one of the worst. The worst. It was like the evilest movies I've ever seen, Salah. So for me to just see someone talk about it, like, yeah, it didn't happen. Yeah, this is not real. See, people have grown up and now they're good and living their lives. So yeah, just it kind of like breaks the intensity of just connecting with the work art in front of you away.
Salah, that I think was mentioned on our show before. I've not actually seen it, but so 120 Days of Sodom, that's the one, isn't it?
Days of Sodom, yeah.
Sodom, yeah. So
the one, right?
Zobo with a shot. Okay, Zobo with a shotgun. Who is an extreme horror fan? She's been on the show before. She told us about that. Maybe her description of it made me avoid it. I don't know.
To avoid it. I don't know. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to remember that I watched it. I had to watch it because it was a dare with an X. Like, haha, yeah, you're too weak to it. I'm gonna watch it, bitch. And then I was like, I hate you so much. I knew you were bad for me. You're toxic.
I knew you were bad for me.
Yeah, this is confirmed. All my fears. Please leave.
Wow. And what else have we got? I've got. Do you know what? News is a bit thin on the ground this week. There is a new trailer for Resident Evil 4, the game. Andy, did you see that?
I've not seen the new trailer. I saw some GIFs that were pulled from it, but it's all right, Capcom. So, you'll get my money. Don't worry.
I'm going to keep mentioning it because I'm very, very excited. So this third trailer is like a lot more action-packed. It kind of really leans into the over-the-top elements of this game. And there's a confirmation of certain areas and characters that I think have been, a lot of people were kind of thinking maybe they won't appear in this game. But I am so hyped for it now. There's like a whole minecart sequence that looks straight out of Donkey Kong. There's like a knife fight with Krauser. I'm incredibly excited. Are you a fan of horror games at all, Jaylan? Are you much of a gamer?
Only if it's like, like 3D, wearing headsets and just getting immersed. And usually when it's like going out, like in VR stations or whatever, virtual reality, whatever. Yeah. I do this a lot and just getting so inside the game. But when it's like a normal PlayStation, video game and stuff like that, no, I just leave this to my sister. But when it's intense and it's virtual reality, augmented reality, all that crap, yeah, I'm into it.
There is a VR version of Resident
ooh.
Evil. I think it's Resident Evil 7, is it, Andy? I
Yeah,
think
7 had a VR version. I've not played it in VR, but PlayStation
No.
gave it away, so I own it. But you know what? If I if I listed all the games I've managed to own but never have time to play, we'd be here for a long night.
Yeah.
We just
but
have
yeah,
a day where we play all the games we didn't have time to play, and you just shut off the world, and you just get
I feel like I need more
all
than a day though.
Yeah,
More than a day.
need a little longer
a
than a
month
day.
Like
or
a
something
month.
like that. You have
Yeah, a
stocks of
month, that's
food,
good.
and you just lock the doors and make a
Benny, you're-
documentary about our stupid selves, kind of playing and limiting.
Benny, you're right. You've not been out the house in a month, and I'll just be like, I
Yeah.
won't trust anybody. I'll be fully immersed in the VR world. Get away
What
from
I need,
me.
what I need is a very specific
Don't
illness
shoot me,
where
Zach.
where I'm not allowed to work or leave the house, but
Mm.
I'm legitimately fine to be able to play games. Just one like that.
Oh yeah, that would be good. Another lockdown. Don't wish for that. Don't be silly.
Don't wish for that. No.
Never wish for that. Okay, that is pretty much all I've got down for horror news. I guess the next section of
Tell you what,
the
Ben, before we
podcast-
hit it, I'll hit a couple of news bulletins for you. One bit of
Oh, you
news
got
from
some
me.
bulletins for me.
Yeah, a couple of little bulletins. You know what's ever so close, Ben? It's
I
anybody
know.
Fright Fest Glasgow.
You can never say it.
You can never say it. Always put an L in there.
Lightfest.
Right.
Ah!
Jesus wept. Right, hang on. Fright Fest Glasgow.
Mm.
Proper BBC reading of that one. That's coming at us hot. Like it is a couple at the time of release of this episode. You got about a week and a half left. It's second week in March. This is happening.
It's coming at us so hot that I kind of forgot about it for a second. I was like, "Oh, when's Fright Fest? It can't be that far away." Sorry, it's
Of course, you typed that in. Google doesn't give you anything because you've typed it wrong. Yeah, it's coming at you. So it's happening pretty soon. That second weekend in May, which is what, the 10th
March.
to the 12th? March, May. Jeez Louise, anyone thinking had a long day. Yeah, so it's coming up in that second weekend in March. I believe it's the 10th to the 12th. There may be things that are happening on the Thursday as well. Being headed up by Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. We hope to be there live, but ironically, living an hour from Glasgow, I'm actually going all the way down to the southwest that weekend to celebrate my wife's birthday with us. So, priorities.
Long way to go.
Yeah, a long way to go, but we'll be missing it. But we'll be still doing some coverage remotely. We're going to see what we can catch up on, make sure we've got all of the news, reviews, and gossip of everyone.
Remote coverage. If you've tuned into this podcast and our coverage of Fright Fest in the past, we'll be doing the same sort of thing where we do a special episode all about the event, but also hopefully some interviews with filmmakers as well. So our coverage should be legitimate. And then we'll also be covering the main event of Fright Fest in August. So,
more to come on that one. We're hoping to be there as much as we can live, right? Well, we got some stuff to plan on that one, but we've got a couple of months. We're not going to let that one sneak up on us, Ben.
Don't let it sneak up on us.
I don't want to sound ignorant. What is Fright Fest?
Sorry, we should have
Please,
explained,
because it sounds exciting.
Not only have we assumed that all of our listeners know what Fright Fest is, we've also assumed that our special guest knows what Fright Fest is. It's very ignorant of us.
Well, if I will say the title wrong, you're going to have to confuse people, aren't you? So, Fright Fest is. I've not done the metrics, Jaylan, but I would say it's arguably the largest horror film centric festivals that run in the UK every year. The main event is down in London. One of our former guests and friend of the show, Lucy Booglis, she often attends live. I believe she was sat next to some obscene genre film. Didn't she bump into Edgar Wright in a lobby of one of the screenings or something like that last year?
I think so.
All the stars are out. It's the cans of the horror film circuit.
There's a lot
certainly European wise.
A lot of independent films, a lot of world cinema, a lot of really major releases. Barbarian was there at the last event last year.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So it's always great, and we've been lucky enough to review and talked to some of the filmmakers remotely for the last couple of years. So we're hoping to continue doing that, but also to attend in person at some point soon as well.
The good folks at Fright Fest appreciate, though, that not all of us in the UK live in London, so they do a Scotland variant as well. They do it up in Glasgow in the early part of the year, so that's the one that's happening first. So we're going to cover what we can from that one. But I tell you what, Ben, just to round up the news, it's not the only Scotland-based horror film festival coming up. For those of you that are my neighbours up in my neck of the woods, Dunded Festival that did their 2022 lineup, and we looked at a couple of movies from them. My good friends over at the DCA, they are shortly going to be announcing their lineup for Dunded 2023, their 11th anniversary after the big 10 years last year.
Wow.
They did a really, really good set of the filmmakers. I think you can hear an interview between myself and Michael, their programming coordinator over there, on our podcast feed as well. Looking forward to catching up with them, showing what they're screening again this year. They support a lot of independent cinema. They do a lot of limited screenings of things that didn't get a big release. Some of my favorite movies of last year, I was fortunate enough to watch as their guest last year. So Bodies, Bodies, Bodies there. That was your number 2 film, number 3 film last year, Ben?
Yeah, maybe number 2 or 3. Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, so they're going to have another great thing. They did a great screening of Vampire as well, like a almost 100-year-old vampire movie. It was
damn, I love
fantastic time. Yeah, so great. Like Scotland's great for tempting you all to move up here. See, Scotland's great for film festivals, horror film festivals.
Jaylan, is there a particular in Alexandria? Is there how's the horror film?
We don't have like festivals and stuff like that here, unfortunately. You just, just if you're, your local cinema group, you will do a screening and then people will gather and talk about it. We, of course, celebrate Halloween, but just for the funkiness of it, you know what I mean? Like more screenings, more just, a way to get drunk or just wear a costume and look silly and stuff like that. But there is nothing major like things that you're describing. Just your local cinema club or your local movie club, if you're lucky and the moderator is a smart person, not an idiot who just kind of like picks the most famous horror movie out there, because when I think I was with, I won't call him an ex, but he was kind of like an on and off guy. We had this local movie group, which was so cool, but then we ended it when we broke it off. So it was the best. We picked, like old stuff. We picked like 1930s. We picked, like a movie from every year out there, from every movement or whatever, and just ended sadly.
Screenings and having screening clubs are great ideas. I know Ghouls magazine, again, former guest Zobo, they've got like a schedule coming out in London right now where they have cocktails, pizza, and a horror movie. If you're in London, you want to look that up as well. But Jaylan, I think if you ever take yourself a UK trip, you now know the months of the year that you want to plan these for.
I definitely know this. I know when to come and where to stay too. Like, you better let me in, Debbie. You're not let your friend Jay in. She wants to attend some horror festivals.
Of course. And then you've got Forbidden Worlds Film Festival in Bristol in October, which is like they show horror movies on like a huge IMAX screen. So that's pretty cool as well.
We're eating well these last couple of years. I think
we are eating well.
I think
not
COVID
always been like this.
and then coming back out of it as well has really inspired a lot of great festivals and not only new releases, but we have like Gasp Horrors doing their one in like the north of England as well. We've got loads of cool stuff coming up, and I think people are getting really passionate about showcasing lesser known filmmakers, about really doing great genre cinemas and having reasons to gather people together. So I'm excited for it. Another good year.
Definitely. Okay, so next up, we're going to talk about what we've been watching. Now, because you're a guest on the show for the first time, Jaylan, we can discuss what you've been watching. It doesn't have to be for the last 7 days. It could just be something you've seen fairly recently that you wanted to talk about. It doesn't always have to be horror-centric, but of course, that's totally your call. Yeah. Have you seen anything recently that you've enjoyed?
Not I haven't seen any horror recently. I think I'm just weighing on, are there new stuff? Is there anything that I missed now that you told me about House of Darkness? This is something that I'm gonna watch. But I just recently watched Till and I was so moved by it. I think I wanted to talk about it a lot.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
Till, and Danielle Dedweiler was played a spectacular role. I think she was also the height of the movie. She carried it with her performance, which was very nuanced and very grounded too,
Mm.
without going to be too melodramatic and stuff like that. And it told a very important story. So yeah, this was the last thing that I watched that I feel like I want to talk about.
So it is award season as well, isn't it? Do you have any particular favorites or picks that you're picking? Not necessarily just for the Oscars, but just for anything in general that you think is. I've kind of been keeping up with who's been winning, and a lot of them are kind of to be expected, I guess, even though it's from films that I haven't necessarily seen. But still, I saw some clips from the BAFTAs, especially that musical number from what's her name from In the Heights,
The thing,
Ariana DeBose.
the
Did you see
both,
DeBose? Yeah, when she did her musical
Angela
number, Angela Bassett did the
did the
thing.
thing.
Angela Bassett did the thing.
Yeah,
Viola
like,
Davis, my woman king. If you've got TikTok, then it's just everywhere at the moment. And yeah, and Angela Bassett also won a separate award, didn't she? Didn't she win the Writers Guild something? Is that true? Not sure if I've completely got that wrong.
I think she won something, but I don't remember why. I don't
I
want
get
to
a little
spread
bit overwhelmed
misinformation.
during. I get a little bit overwhelmed during award season because it feels like there's so many award ceremonies happening, like back to back.
And you keep
Yeah,
seeing it popping it on your Twitter feed. Sometimes it gets too much, but sometimes when you're excited about something, you feel like, yeah, seeing you again.
yeah,
Very happy. But this season, because I'm excited about certain actors, oh, I am following it up. But other seasons, I used to be like such a snob, like, award season. I don't care. I don't want to watch an
yeah,
award season. But this season, I'm like an idiotic fangirl. So yeah, a different attitude completely.
yeah. It happens like that, especially if you've seen a lot of the films that are getting nominated as well. Like sometimes if you've not seen a lot of them, I've seen a handful, but some films that are getting nominated, I'm kind of like, oh, I didn't even realize. Like for All Quiet on the Western Front, for
All Quiet
example.
was this movie was brutal.
Oh, see, I've not seen it, and when it was put on Netflix, I kind of just thought, okay, war movie. I'll probably get
Oh,
around
it's
to
a
watching
good
that.
one. Trust me,
But
it's a good
yeah,
one.
and then it's
It's
been
not just
nominated
a
for so
simple.
much.
Yeah, you have to watch it. I really usually I'm like war movie. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. Soldiers dying. But this one was made with a certain underneath feeling that you
Mm.
would feel. You would feel it hits you in a different spot. So I totally
Yeah.
recommend it to a lot of
So,
people, especially
Okay.
yeah, I
you,
think
Ben.
it's definitely on the list. So I've added that to the list. I've not seen The Whale, Brendan Fraser either. Have you seen that, Jaylan?
Yeah, but I'm gonna hold my like opinion. Good for Brandon that he is winning.
Good for Brandon is
Like I
winning.
feel bad for Brandon, like I feel really kind of like, yeah, Brandon, like his story touched me, but the movie was just, I don't know, like,
Do we want to call it Oscar bait?
no, but I don't know. I just feel bad for the guy. Like I feel bad for the actor, you know what I mean? Like maybe if it was an actor that I really hated, I'd be like, yeah, Oscar bait, bitch. I hate this. This
Yeah.
movie sucked. But now I feel like, yeah, just let him get his moment. But the
You're
movie
kind of to
sucks.
the movie that you didn't like because you really like the person in it, right? Kind of like when your favorite band releases a terrible
Yeah,
album.
and you feel like so protected. Like I feel bad for Brandon and just feel so I don't want him to be in a bad state again because he's been through a lot of shit. But honestly,
Mm.
if you ask me who deserves it more, like for me it would be Austin Butler. This is the guy I'm rooting for.
Ah,
Really, I
see,
really like
I've
Austin
I've
Butler
not se-
so much. I
I've
don't care
not.
about the accent. I don't care about like, yeah, he was just I let him campaign for the Oscar. He's a good guy actor, whatever. So yeah, I want Austin Butler to win, but if Brandon wins too, why not? Let the guy have a moment. Let him have
I've not.
fun. Life is
I've
short.
not. I've not even seen Elvis either. I've really been slacking on that. In fact, I think of all the actor in a leading role, like you mentioned, I've only seen Colin Farrell in The Banshees of Inisherin, which I
That
really
movie's
enjoyed.
so good, and I love Martin McDonagh.
Oh yeah, 100%, fantastic actor, director, sorry,
Yeah,
and
Martin
then
is like one of my favorite directors.
Yeah, I mean, wonderful. Yeah, in terms of the scripts in his movies are absolutely, absolutely perfect. And the only other really one that I've seen is getting nominated is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Oh my
Which he
god,
also deserves. That is the one thing I can say I've actually watched. I was sat here while you guys are talking about all these fantastic, worthy winners with incredible performances and thinking, you know what, I haven't had time to really see any of these. I watched 7 Tremors movies in the last fortnight. But I've not
I
seen
know
it.
what you mean.
But I have seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's very, very good. So
it is good,
I
yeah.
like that. And again, the apologies, I'm blanking on his name now. The supporting actor that plays the husband, and obviously we know as a child in Indiana Jones. What's his name?
Ke Huy Quan.
Yeah. What a passionate speech when he won his
Same.
award. Like amazing.
The first Asian actor to have won it after being nominated in that category. Apparently, I think I heard the clip of him saying today.
And it must be astounding, right? When you're a child actor, and then I think for a lot of them, talked about it a little while ago, you have your moment in the spotlight and then you disappear. I don't know, he's been working all of his life and he's had a career, but to have this kind of recognition now, and you could see when he gave that speech, is something that he clearly cares a lot about. It's fantastic. Like good for him. It's nice when you see people that win these things that don't come across as, oh, you know what, you have more money than you will ever possibly need. And I don't think you care about regular people anymore, because the gift bag you got for coming here is full of treasures that these normal shit munchers will never even see. Maybe if you just gave that money and just got a slice of cake to go home with, the world would be a less unequal place. But you see people like that and you think, you know what a nice person you are. You're not walking up and punching anyone on stage. I mean, sorry,
I think that was a year ago.
Segue into that though, Ben. Have we talked about the fact that we're getting apparently a sequel to I Am Legend with Will Smith?
Guys, I'm not a Will Smith. You guys like Will Smith? I'm a Wesley Snipes fan. Like, I always feel like you're either a Wesley Snipes fan or a Will Smith fan. I'm not a Will
I love
Smith
Simon
fan.
Phoenix myself from Demolition Man, so absolutely.
I feel like I enjoy Will Smith to a degree. I wouldn't call myself like a super fan. When I was a kid, I used to love his music. The Millennium album, one of the first CDs that I bought. Absolutely love that. I love Fresh Prince.
I love the
as
Backstreet
well.
Boys, so I know the feeling.
Yeah, we've all been there.
We've all been dumb, the pop listeners.
I'm filled with a deep regret, Ben, that I feel like someone who's missed an absolutely open goal to give a sports reference here. Someone asked if I was a Will Smith fan, and I did not do an hell no, which is what he always says. It's fine. He's fine. I don't like it, but I did roll my eyes a little bit where it's saying, for I Am Legend 2, what we're doing is we're going with the ending, the non-canon ending that was on as a DVD extra.
Scene, yeah.
That in inverted commas that the fans preferred. Have you polled the fans? Or how are you doing? Are you following on from the ending, which allows you to have Will Smith alive in a sequel? Because if that's the thing, just say it.
Did I read that somebody? Did I also read that maybe
it's Michael B. Jordan, isn't it?
Michael B. Jordan. I was just about to say Michael B. Jordan. Yeah. I couldn't remember if I dreamt that. Is he going to be in it in some way as well?
Yeah. I just feel this is one of those things, and I can be absolutely wrong. People would say things like The Last of Us were really good as a standalone. I feel like I Am Legend doesn't need a sequel. You can quite happily if you want to do another post-apocalyptic Will Smith is in this thing with vampires, just do it. You don't have to have an I Am Legend sequel.
Or also, he was on his own for like a long time, right? So they could have done any sort of prequel or like a different story. I'm not saying I want that. Yeah. Jaylan, your face when I said
I hear him, guys. Just stop it. I can't. Now that's one I'm not nice with. Like, no. I can't. Like, I don't think Brendan should win the Oscars. Sorry, universe. But I'm okay with him winning. Oh, yeah, good for you. But not Will Smith. Like, no, I wish we would just retire. Please retire, baby. Retire, Willie. Thank you very much.
Did Willie win the Oscar last year for the
Yeah, he
for
won it
his
after
role
the
in.
slap, right?
It was after the slap as well.
Yeah. Yeah, he won it.
Can you
And it was like,
imagine?
sorry, I'm tired. I was just mute.
Did he say sorry? I'm tired. What, like a little toddler?
Forgive me. Some sort of bullshit
like a
that.
little toddler. Please forgive me.
Like,
I was
forgive me.
I was
I'm
incredibly.
working on myself. I'm working on myself. I'm getting better. Yeah, blah. Yeah, sure, yeah.
Please
Me too.
forgive me. I was very hungry when that happened, and we all know what Will Smith gets like when he's hungry.
Could it have been like, he turns around and goes, "You're not yourself when you're angry." He gives him a Snickers and he goes, "Oh, thank you so much."
There's got to be a Snickers in one of those Academy goodie bags.
In one of those big bags, like a diamond encrusted, more money than any of our houses are worth Snickers that you can.
And the
Absolutely.
amazing menus, like the menus that are always full of plants and flowers. Like, I'm like, whoa, I'm starving. Are you guys starving for this menu? Please, don't you get burgers afterwards? Are you serious?
Cheeseburger.
I'd be like, fuck this shit. What? Eating
Like
encrusted with watercress, blah blah. Seriously?
Yeah. See, Jaylan, you'd be the character that survived the menu. That'd be it. You get out of there.
Definitely. Are you serious? What the hell is this restaurant? Come on, man. I need shawarma.
Fill up on the bread basket. That's what I do. Andy, have you seen anything?
I've been mercifully brief this week because we recorded a little bit late last week, and then it was my wife's actual birthday.
Yep.
So I mostly have watched a couple of episodes of Death in Paradise. I tell you what, that's compelling TV. I love lovely, comforting BBC murder mysteries where you can just guess who the murderer is, and there are no real high stakes. Apart from that, I've just been reading the horrors of DC's Injustice series. I've read the first 3 years of omnibuses of that, in the world where Superman's turned into a wrong'un.
Nice.
So that is very fun. And today I've watched a bit of another one of my little dips into 90s Outer Limits series. I watched an episode that complemented this week's film very nicely, actually. A young Thora Birch is a psychic little girl.
Love her so much.
Yes, like little kid Thora Birch, and it has great scenes that mirror some bits here where at the beginning it shows where needlessly psychotic bully children picking on a girl for being ever so slightly different to them in the school, and it's a very monoculture school, so lots of blonde-haired white kids are picking on this other blonde-haired white kid for not being exactly the same as them because she's, I guess, standing in a slightly different part of the playground, but she uses her mind powers to give the kid a blood nose, and then he does some excellent ugly crying. Great story. And then other things happen in this. That's literally just the first minute. But yeah, I'm really loving this series of the 90s Outer Limits.
Wow.
Like, it's great. It's been so much fun. It's very much of its era. You would never think to yourself as you're watching it, this could be out today. It feels very much like it's the 1990s. But you know what? It's a bit like watching Captain Marvel, where you think, remember when you just pretended everything was horrible in the 90s, and actually it was dead good, halcyon days.
Yeah.
Halcyon days. Yeah, indeed.
Apart from that, just the film of the week.
Okay, so I've not really watched much over. Yes, as you said, we filmed quite late last week and we're quite early this week. I'm still watching 101 scariest movie moments on Shudder, which is great.
How's that watch list going for you?
Well, this is the
Added every day.
Luckily, with this one, I've seen most of them, and it's not as constant as In Search of Darkness. However, a few have been added, including a couple of films that we're actually going to cover this month on the podcast, including one in particular, Terrified, the Argentinian horror movie. We've got special guest Ash Millman joining us at the end of the month for this. Very, very excited. But yeah, so loads of films that I'm kind of discovering from it, and also it's making me remember certain moments. What I love the most about it, and I think I said this last week, is it'll say, here's the movie, and I'll go, it's got to be this moment from the film. This is a scary moment. And when you get it right, it's so satisfying. Because you just go, see, that is the scariest moment. Or maybe something that isn't considered the scariest moment in that film, but then you remember what that moment is. You're like, oh yeah, that is really effective. 28 Days Later, for example, the moment they've chosen is the blood dropping into Brendan Gleeson's eye. and then he starts going ragey. What are you going to say, Andy?
I was going to say, I don't remember now, Ben. Do they have any repeats, or are they only allowing one per film?
Only one per film, and I feel like it's not like in order. It's not like here's the top 101, and we're going to go down to the number one scariest moment. I feel like it's just 101 scary moments.
Throw it like throw it into a randomizer. But
yeah,
okay, then a controversial one, Ben. Absolute horror classic. Let's go for Alien. What's your horror moment from that film? Is it the bit where the thing comes out of John Hurt's? Yeah, is it the jazz hands bit in the?
It's the jazz hands bit. Yeah,
yeah.
That's horrible. That bit when he's when he's up in the rafters,
in the air vents, and that magician alien like goes ta-da and gets him. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's a
good
game to play. If you watch it, so it's on Shudder. But if you watch it, a great game to play. It's just naming what you think the scary moment's going to be, and it's good. It's good. I love it. I feel like I could watch like documentary content about horror films forever. You know what I mean?
I could watch top 10 talking head things about anything forever as well, even if there's some semblance of a countdown.
Yeah. It's great.
It could be. I could watch on Channel 4 with adverts and everything. Top 100 things Andy Conduit Turner fucking hates. Let's sit and watch the entire thing. But sitting there increasingly pissed off, going, wonder what number one's gonna be.
What is number one? Number one, somebody directed you to park. Come on, come back this way. Oh, fuck off, will you? Just let me park, leave me alone. Fucking hell. Come on, back a bit. That's too far.
It'd be incomplete lists, and the program would end at number 2. I'd be like, fuck no.
And next up on no, that's it. Done. So I've been watching that. I'm up to episode 6 of The Last of Us. I don't know if you've kept up. Andy, have you?
One more I've got this week's to watch.
Okay, so the episode 7 you need to watch. Jaylan, have you been watching The Last of Us at all?
Not yet, really. No. Everybody's recommending it, so I'm keeping it until the noise
it's all available,
calms down. This is me. This is me always. I did this with Game of Thrones. I did this with a lot of shows.
Oh, it's
like people talk about it's cute, and then I watch without judgment and see what I like.
That's good. That's good. I do feel like it would be nice to be able to binge. The gap between the weeks is fairly agonizing.
It's scary. Yeah, it kind of like tears me apart. I only allowed it, I think, in Supernatural when I was a fan. I was a fan of the first 5 seasons. So I would like be on hiatus and having a countdown, like when is it
when is it back?
Yeah. And so this was the only one. Other ones, no. I'll just binge watch everything.
My only recommendation, Jaylan, when you get round to The Last of Us is for mental health reasons, binging it may not be helpful. The cliffhangers are one thing, which are stressful in their own way. But it's a depressing show, man.
No, the game itself I played the game with my cousins, and I was so sad. Like
it's a sad time, right?
Yeah, exactly. So watching it, reliving this moment.
It is a beautifully made, incredibly compelling, incredibly sad time, but it is one.
I mean, that is apparently it. We can, even though we've discussed the film a bit already, we can jump into the film of the week, if that suits the pair of you, shall we?
Suits me.
Mon ami.
Let's do it. Okay, so Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon is a 2021 American fantasy thriller film. I'm going to put horror in brackets. That sounds fair. Written and directed by Ana Lily Amirpour. It stars Kate Hudson, Jun Jong-seo, Ed Skrein, Evan Whitten, and Craig Robinson. A girl with unusual powers escapes from a mental asylum and tries to make it on her own in New Orleans. Okay. So it's got 6.2 on IMDb. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's got 74% critic score, 61% audience score, and a 3.3 out of 5 score on Letterboxd. I've got some choice reviews here from Letterboxd users. Josh Rowley says, amusing, colourful, engaging, fantastical, located, sad, stylish, undercooked, underwhelming. Oh, that went downhill, didn't it? 3 stars. 3 stars. Kraut Salat says, being really hungry gives you superpowers. 4 stars. And then Mikey Flick says it's like somebody asked Sean Baker to remake Carrie. Now, I know we already mentioned Firestarter as a sort of comparison there. Carrie probably is as well, although obviously completely different.
She's got more Carrie-ish powers, I guess.
3.5 stars,
but not quite.
Flicks, but not quite. No. Yeah. So I mean, across the board, the scores seem to be pretty high. It seems like everybody, well, most people seem to really enjoy that. Yes, sure, sci-fi thriller, more so, I guess. The cast is like quite high profile, as I mentioned before. Probably unexpectedly high profile. Is this a first-time watch for both of you?
Oh, this is my second. I watched it, I think, this year, beginning of the year, and I was mesmerized.
Oh, so you've seen it literally this year? So like,
yeah, 2023.
Oh wow, okay. How was? Are you usually the kind of person who likes to watch it? If you really enjoy a film, do you like to watch it again really soon afterwards, or do you like to leave it for a while? And
I watched it again soon because the podcast.
Is this? Yeah.
That's the only reason.
To prepare. Maybe the guys are like, yeah, only if it's like too, like for me, this happened with Moonlight, I think. For me, the diner scene, I had to watch this scene again and again and again. So I kept watching it like after, like months after. But usually when I like a movie, even intensely, like I want to leave you, I want to forget about you, and then I want to come back and see if you have the same effect on me. So no, I wasn't intending on watching it anytime soon, but for you guys, I had to prepare.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that. It was the first time watching me, Ben. Like I said at the top, it got onto my watch list. Good reason, as good as an excuse as any to get around to watching it. How about you?
It's just really weird that I'd not even heard of it. You know, that's strange. That kind of, it really did go under my radar. And when you mentioned it, I was a bit like, it wasn't even like I went, oh, I've seen that poster before, or I've seen like a clip or anything like that. I didn't know anything about this film. So in a way, quite a refreshing thing to be able to approach a film knowing next to nothing. Like I didn't watch a trailer, just went into it completely blind, and
especially it's
had a good time.
Surprising it hasn't got a little bit of a bump, because I feel like Kate Hudson in particular has been in the spotlight thanks to Glass Onion towards the end of the year. You would have thought that this would have been surfaced off the back of that, but I think if I hadn't heard about it, just mentioned in passing on a podcast, I'd not seen any marketing for this.
No, how did you discover this one, Jaylan?
Actually, like I go and surf the IMDb. Like for me, I'm bored and I get recommendations from friends, but I'm always on the hunt for new movies, any kind of movie. So I think there were 2 ones. There was this Halsey, kind of like sort of a movie, long music video called "If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power," and underneath someone else recommended this movie. So I like, wow, those 2 titles are crazy. I don't watch those 2 things, whatever they are. So I watched them like right after the other. That's how.
Oh, great.
So, so If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power. That's the Halsey album, isn't it? So it's
sort of like an elongated music video, sort of movie thingy, you know, like I think like Lemonade with Beyonce. I don't find it like a music video. It was some sort of a tale, a story told through her songs. So it was just a magical discovery for me.
Wow. Is that like a feature length thing as well?
Yeah, it was long. It was about like, I think it was an hour long or something. Yeah. Wow. Very nice. Okay. Very well made too. And very daring, I must say.
Wow.
Very cryptic. Very, if you want spookiness, you want it. If you want an eerie feeling, you want it. If you want female body horror, you want it. It has a lot of elements.
Oh, wow. Okay. But yeah, same thing with Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon. Really, really well made. It looks great. Soundtrack's awesome. Really strong lead performance and really good supporting performances as well, especially from people that maybe you wouldn't necessarily expect to be in this film. Obviously, Kate Hudson pops up, Craig Robinson. Wait a minute, Zac Efron. Why is Zac Efron listed as in the cast? That's not legit, is it?
He wasn't, right? Am I crazy? He wasn't there.
I'm scrolling the IMDb now.
I'm reading it now. It just says Zac Efron had joined the cast of the film. So maybe he was like Ed Skrein's role. At
Oh,
one point.
maybe.
Yeah, get him out. Good for the universe. What?
Get
Zac
him
Efron,
out.
please. I don't want him ever.
See you later. See you later, Zac Efron. Yeah, so I guess obviously we mentioned the cast and everything. I guess we could just jump straight into sort of, I guess at the top of the show, we already spoke a little bit about the themes and everything like that. So we can just pretty much jump straight into the film and this opening scene, which reminded me a little bit of Kill Bill, you know, this opening scene.
Me
Yeah?
too. Damn. Me too.
Yeah. With the like, you see the back of the nurse walking down the corridor towards where Mona Lisa is being held. Well, she's in like an institute, isn't she? She's literally got a what's it called?
Well, she's in a straight jacket.
A straight jacket. I don't know why I can think of what that was called.
But it's revealed to us later on that she's been fairly like cataleptic for years, right? That she hasn't really interacted with people. We can see that she physically moves around the room because you see her look around and hop up onto the bed before the care worker comes in. But as we learn a bit later in the film, she hasn't interacted with anybody directly for years. And then the first interaction we get is, it's one of a fairly casual cruelty, right? She walks in and she says like, you know, hey stupid or hey idiot or something like that, and she like, you know, knocks her on the head,
slaps around the bonds,
gives her a slap around the head, and then sits down and starts cutting her nails on the floor while complaining that she doesn't earn enough money to, and I have to pay money to get my nails cut. The only person whose nails I cut occasionally are my dogs, and that is a violent and horrible time because he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it at all, Ben. He hates it.
Have you ever had your toenails cut by somebody else? It's
not since I was a child. No.
It feels like you've just got literally no control of anything, and I think I'm quite a ticklish person. I think I could quite easily boot someone in the face.
Let me think.
What?
I keep imagining you in that situation. Guys, like, if you're like a woman, you have to have the pedicures and shit. And when you go, I usually hate it. I don't want you guys near my feet, you know, like I keep eyeing them suspiciously. And I think the girls just want to finish the goddamn job because look, your mom is okay with it, your sister, the kid, what's your problem? But you know, like I'm so wild. I think when someone comes near my feet, I'm like, no, thank you. So yeah, sometimes it happens and it's not comfortable, at least for me.
These toenails, well, they've seen better days, unfortunately, Mona Lisa. No disrespect to Mona Lisa, but they're dirty, they're long.
That's the horror of poor funding of a state healthcare system, Ben.
There we go. Not just poor funding, but
if it was looked after, you'd be looking after that patient's nails weekly. You wouldn't be letting them get in that kind of state.
Not just poor funding, but not a very good screening process. That they've hired some like low level
abuser
to be the person who's doing it. But she gets her comeuppance fairly quickly, right?
Yeah, she does. She hasn't learned the lesson that doing someone's nails is like doing your gutters. It might be a job that you don't want to do. If you don't do it regularly, it's going to get a lot worse. And that's what she's done.
I thought we were going to see like a scratch with the foot, or maybe something like that. But
no. What we weren't expecting is she would use her mental powers, and I don't know what this is because it's not telekinesis because she's not moving. She's not moving the thing. She's forcing someone else to move it. So she has a Charles Xavier like mental domination power, right? She can basically use people like puppets, and she will imitate the movements that she's going to make with her own body, does Mona Lisa, and then the person that she has taken control of will perform those actions. And she gets her to stab herself a few times in the thigh with the nail scissors.
Yeah, she's like.
And then, right.
If she'd used a pair of clippers, it would have been a very different scene.
The next bit. So obviously she escapes. this next
she
bit for
is
me
released.
is
She's released out of her cell first, right? So she gets the pedicure lady to undo her, and then she meets a young gentleman's watching his stories, eating some cheesy poofs.
I gotta be totally
And
honest. In terms of real life horrors, right? I can't stand the sight of anybody eating like any sort of cheesy snack. If it's on their hands, around their mouths, like toddlers, like little kids doing that, it it
covered in
it,
what's it dust.
it makes me it makes you
And the
feel more.
snot, and the kids, there's also snot, and you feel
Don't
like,
even say that. Don't
Oh
even
yeah,
say that.
little
and the
candlesticks
snotty
coming
kitty,
out
and
of the
like,
noses.
this is my
I
kid, and I just want to slap the mother and the kid. I'm like,
slap the mother and the kid.
thank you
When
guys so much. Not enough.
coming towards you with the cheesy fingers, nothing makes me
Isn't
feel
he cute and snotty?
no.
Yeah.
That for me, and there's not even kids involved in this. It's a grown adults eating cheesy snacks.
A lot.
Seriously, it made me want to look away. I think more than I would if there was like any other sort of body horror torture porn going on the screen. I would much rather look away during the cheesy poofs moment.
Tell you what, Gemini, if you ever go around Ben's house, he'll serve cheesy poofs and he gives everyone chopsticks so you can eat them without getting it on your hands.
I wouldn't even serve them.
If I Pringles on a
serve
thin.
No, I wouldn't. And I don't mind them, It's not like I don't mind eating them myself. It's just the sight of anybody else. I'm like on there. It really does make me feel like my gag reflex is.
You eat them in a clean room that has no mirrors in it, so you can never see what has become of you. And you have to shower before you leave.
Yeah, exactly. It is the kind of thing I want to wash my hands with. And if someone else doesn't wash their hands after it, I'm like, don't touch that remote control. Don't touch anything else. There'll be cheese.
It's like,
dust
we've had
everywhere.
a snack. Should we go for a game on the PlayStation? Only if you've got your own controller, mate. Absolutely not otherwise.
No.
And if someone is like sucking their fingers after,
Oh,
oh my god! Now I know how to scare Ben. Imagine Ben
right.
do what I want.
Ben can confirm that if this is a horror film, it's had the most triggering moment of a film we've watched this year.
Yeah, because I don't think. Do you know what? This is how bad it is. Do you remember the moment in Toy Story 2 when that larger guy, the guy who like runs the toy store and they're trying to get something off of him and he's fallen asleep with like cheesy fingers and they're like trying to grab something out of his hands? I couldn't even watch that as like a kid. I was like, oh no. It's animated. It's like a Pixar animated cheesy dust. Even that, horrific.
Those fingers are too cheesy. What generates it most? Ben, we will move on from this moment eventually, but like, would you say the most triggering cheesy dust is created by a What's It or a Dorito?
Pretty much just a What's It. For some reason, Doritos.
Yeah, What's It, of course.
Yeah.
Doritos are just, I don't know. And some people eat them really smartly, like throwing them, but dust.
Yeah.
It just gets into your things. You cannot help.
I feel like cheesy Doritos. I feel like they'll just create a slight staining on your fingers. However, cheesy What's-Its will create some sort of dust which gets in the air and all around you. It's a completely different
and your
process.
Clothes too.
Yeah.
And your hair, if your hair
like
is in your face and you eat it.
Like
and if you have a beard.
I'm going to suggest, if you don't mind, that we move on from this.
So that guy's eating his cheesy poofs and she's like, give us some. And then he sets the alarm off. So she uses her psychic powers to make him go and nut the TV and knock himself out.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't deserve to die or wait, she doesn't actually kill anybody, does she? Really? Her whole thing is she
just knocks him out,
incapacitating people. Yeah. There we go, and then she escapes. And again, there's some great shots of her like walking through the cityscape of New Orleans.
New Orleans is such a cool city, like such a unique look about it, right?
I want to go there after this movie, and I think before, but after this movie specifically.
Yeah. Have you ever New Orleans-based horror movies? Interview of a Vampire, is that New Orleans?
Yes, at least partially.
And that's like gothic, like dream, homoerotic dream New Orleans, not the real.
And of course, who else is in and around there, Ben? Bit of the Candyman, of course.
Yeah, and it's a local legend, like right there. Oh, I don't want to go. I hate Candyman. Candyman is like Carrie.
Oh, be careful, Jaylan. You said his name twice now. You've got 3 more.
Oh shit! No, don't you dare do this with me. I'm leaving this shit. If my
I've
mom
only
knew
got
it.
3 left. It
No.
doesn't matter.
If
No matter
you're
how
on a
far
call
apart
down,
they are.
That
You
which
have-
cannot be named is
Yeah.
a local legend in New Orleans.
it's okay if you say it in a
Candyman.
slightly different cadence, like
No,
Yeah, we have to
no, no.
Candyman. That'll confuse him. You won't even know.
If
Be
you
my
jinx me, it's on
victim.
you. I'll go to Ben's house and like sprinkle
gets
all
to.
the dust, all the cheesy puffy dust on his clothes, on his bed.
That's a true horror for me. The true horror for me would be a man made out of like cheesy dust. That's it. Cheesy dust man.
Just
Not Candyman. Cheesy man.
combine everyone's fears. So like it's a Candyman covered in cheesy what's it dust, and he's Mr. Blobby. Something along those joint lines.
Are you scared of
Will
Mr. Blobby,
Smith
Andy?
makes a cameo in the movie and
There you
says,
go.
"No, please forgive me because I'm just slapped."
God.
You guys
Oh
heard me?
God.
You heard me when you
Yeah.
said like Will Smith makes a cameo
Yeah.
in the movie? It will be. He will be the cheesy guy.
It will.
This will be my revenge at him.
The cheesy guy. He gives Chris Rock a cheesy slap.
You get like a dusty handprint on your face.
Will Smith just slapped the shit out of me. That's still my favorite bit. My favorite bit is Chris Rock saying that and like his voice kind of breaking a bit because I actually feel really bad for him.
Will Smith just slapped so much of it, and he's been eating Watsits out of his goodie bag.
And his goodie bag of Watsits.
He just sat in the audience like.
So where does Mona Lisa go
So
first?
Mona Lisa wanders into the streets of New Orleans, where I didn't check the actors' names, but it looks like she basically meets Chad Kroeger, Taylor Hanson, and Weird Al. And between them, they discuss. One of them has to give her his Converse, and then
It's
she
like
heads
a
on her way.
Terminator moment, though, right?
Yeah, she gets the shoes. Why do I have to take my shoes off? And just a tiny little interaction between these characters that, as far as I'm aware, we never see again.
But
And
again,
then-
they give up like their shoes and clothes like voluntarily, right?
Yeah,
Which is-
I don't think she
which
uses
is-
her powers on them. One of the others turns to them and says, "Hey, give her your shoes." They it's a small act of kindness. Saw some
Kindness.
graffiti and
Yeah.
saw some
I li-
graffiti in
I-
Glasgow
I-
the other day that said, "The people that have the least will always give you half," and that's true. It's a true story.
I really do like it. It also that's something about this feels almost like kind of like a sort of fantasy film in a way, because it's like I understand the sentiment, I completely get it, and I think it's a great sort of plot detail. But in a way, part of me is kind of thinking maybe it's a cynical part of my brain where I'm like, the chances of coming across so many people who are willing to give and to help and stuff like that, that's kind of what makes it feel like that sort of fantasy film, but like a feel good. It's not often we say that on this show, but almost like a feel good element of it. I don't remember Chad Kroeger being there though. Andy, was he?
He
Definitely
was
there?
he was right there.
Did he say that a hero could save us?
Well, he wasn't going to stand there and wait. So,
Honestly, one of my favorite songs. Don't care. Don't even care.
Me too. I don't care.
Love it.
This has come up
Absolutely love
before,
it.
but like, people say like people make fun of Nickelback, and then people go out to try and defend them. Don't worry about them; they're filling stadiums still. They're doing all right.
I know people make fun of them all the time, and I don't even feel they're that bad. I don't know.
Yeah, fine.
They're worse. They're worse
don't li-
bands, you guys.
I agree, but I don't like it when people say, "Oh, I love that song, Hero" by Nickelback. I go, "Hey, hang on a minute."
Chad Kroeger.
It's Chad Kroeger of Nickelback featuring Josie Scott of Saliva. Come on, don't get it completely wrong.
Oh, Two Titans. Never has such a band of
Nominated.
a supergroup been formed. Not until generations later, when we would get busted, as they've been such a musical powerhouse.
It was in Spider-Man, and it was nominated for a Grammy. What mean, amazing.
So after they've given away their shoes, Pop's finest, given their shoes away to Mona Lisa, we have a really interesting scene where she turns up outside the outside just a convenience store, cheekily tries to pinch a man's chip, and he's not having any of it. And then this is where we meet.
I like that interaction, Where
Yeah,
he
he's
was
like,
just no, and she was still going for it. I suppose in whatever institute she was in, she's not been really getting very good grub, has she?
no, certainly not any cheesy poofs. So, and this is where we meet Ed Skrein's character, and at first I was like, where do I know him from? He's Francis from Deadpool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a very weird experience. Again, not knowing what to expect from this film on a first watching. My immediate instinct watching this, and appreciate I'm watching this as a guy like Jaylan. I'm interested to know what your take of it watching it was as well. Like, my immediate thought is, oh, this is a predatory guy, and this is going to be some terrible danger that she's in immediately, right?
Yeah, and I just thought this guy's gonna die, she's gonna kill him, he's gonna try to do blah blah blah. But then the sweetness of it, I don't know, just he turns out to be like a lot kinder and sweeter than I thought he'd be. Like he's a cool guy. Like he's not the villain, he's not a predatory kind of guy. Like he's a good guy deep down. So you'd never expect that. I think the way she portrayed him or the way she shot him, Ana Lily Amirpour, was really interesting to me because like kind of like she just defies what you have, what preconceptions you have of the character. So this made me feel like, wow, this is good. This is nice.
That's a really good way of putting it. Completely defied, goes completely the opposite direction to what your expectations of that character are going to be. He reminded me of, he had the same sort of energy as Robert Pattinson in Good Time. If you've seen that film,
I've not seen Good Time.
Yeah,
which is a great film, and almost like cinematography wise, it kind of felt a little bit similar. But he had this sort of vibe where he's like, he's probably a bit of an idiot, probably into some bad stuff, but essentially his heart is in the right place, and at least he's treating somebody, especially somebody like Mona Lisa, who is in need of not necessarily in need of some help, but he's there should she need it, and isn't kind of using anything to sort of get. There was a time when he sort of asked for a kiss that I thought maybe it was going to go in a more sinister way. Yeah, but it didn't.
No, and like he gives up his shirt, and then she just, and he kind of says, like, he never, at least as far as I recall, he doesn't actually make any moves to try and stop her from leaving. He gives up his shirt, and then when she sees the policeman Harold, the Pontiac Bandit himself from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, when he turns up, and we've seen him hear the call that there's an escaped mental patient on the loose, but he has actually turned up to deal with some girls that are drunk outside the store, right? And then he notices
she's chundered all over the floor, and I like this because she was like, "Oh, it's her birthday. She drank too much." He's like, "Still $100 fine if it's your birthday or not."
Yeah, doesn't matter. In fact, that even if it's your birthday, oh, but please, I'm not that. And then he kind of trails off that conversation because he sees Mona Lisa fresh in Ed, in Ed's shirt there, like wander off, and he pursues her. And again, it's an interesting approach because even though he tries to, have that authority a little bit later, he begins in quite a gentle way, right? Which, increasingly, and there are huge issues with, I think, that the public see from policing in the modern society that we live in today all over the world. But I think it's a very different portrayal of a member of the police than that we see in a lot of films. Like, he has an authority, but he's also quite a gentle character, right? That he comes across. I think he immediately strikes you as a fairly likable and sympathetic guy. It doesn't seem like the hapless cop that tries to arrest your main character and that you want to see killed off immediately, right?
It's weird because who is the antagonist in this film, really?
Kind of shifts, doesn't it? I mean, he is technically, for a large thing, he is the force that's against them, but
yeah,
you don't necessarily wish him any harm, which is unfortunate because he gets a little bit of harm right now where in trying to arrest us, no, come on, you're going to come with me. It's going to be the easy way or the hard way. And she uses her power to make him shoot himself in the knee.
that was kind of a, like a moment where I felt like, no, why did you have to do this? Just
Yeah.
let him tie himself up or something, but just don't hurt this guy. Like he seemed like a very good guy. So I felt a little bit, like, ah, maybe you shouldn't have, babe.
Oh, Lisa, you've taken it one step too far. You made him made him fire his gun up. I thought made him fire his gun up in the air, and then I don't know. She could have done anything else. But yeah, made him shoot himself in his knee, which is a bit harsh. Because I imagine that hurt. Probably come sharp, didn't it, Andy?
It comes ever so sharp. It was proper right saw afterwards when he's in the hospital. So it does come a bit sharp. He collapses to the floor, screaming, and off she goes. And then follows onto your background, doesn't it? Then, like, she finds herself outside a diner where we're introduced to another major character and the other female co-lead of this story, in Kate Hudson's character, whose
My
name is
favorite,
Bonnie
Bonnie.
Bell. Yeah.
Bonnie Bell, and I guess in a sort of unconventional role for Kate Hudson, I'd say it was definitely the kind of role that I thought. I guess you kind of see her usually in romantic comedies. Obviously later a little bit more serious roles. I guess obviously Glass Onion this year. She was in The Skeleton Key, wasn't she? Which is like a gothic supernatural horror film. So I guess in terms of like genre films, I can't really think of much else that she's been in that would relate closely to this in a way.
Feel like when it came to casting this one, it's someone who has a similar filmography in terms of those genres that you've touched on, Ben. But I feel like if Kate Hudson hadn't been available for this, you would have got on there. J-Lo would have sat this role perfectly as well. J-Lo got Jennifer Lopez in.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
And I'd be like cursing like crazy. You bet. Because I was just gonna say, I love her so much. I don't even see an ounce of evil. She's street smart. She's not phased easily, like even in harsher moments, you could see her like smoking. Even if she's scared, she just likes to put in a strong upfront. She's just a badass. She teases people. Everything, even the looks, even the cheap clothing, the hair, the acrylic nails, everything about her is just so good. And she's
I love it. Sorry, Jaylan.
Definitely tell me. I want to know what you love.
I love her hair, like the sort of
Me
slicked back
too.
look.
Me too. It's so good. It's the kind of, I think, if you ask me like my role models, like even if you ask me like Egyptian female roles, usually people like pick leads and stuff like I pick the badasses, like the ones who are like in fights and going on like this, and she has an aggressive sexuality quality to her. So this is to me Bonnie. She's like a character I totally love. I could
She's
have put
great.
What I like about Bonnie as
but
well
I'm
is that
short.
What was that?
I'm so short. I couldn't like do the pole. Like I'd be like head level.
Right.
So yeah, a very short stripper at that.
But that'd be good, because if you got up the pole, you could spin around for ages, because it'd take you ages to get down before you hit the floor.
Now that's the trick. Thank you, Andy. Maybe if I shift my career, that would be helpful.
Got to keep your options open.
You never know.
I kind of like Kate Hudson's character as well, because she's like a single mum. She's like an older woman, but she's in like a position of power in a way. I know it's not like she's not like the. Well, what is she necessarily in her role? Because it seems like a lot of the other women look up to her. She seems to be in charge of like distributing the money as well.
I think she has like a huge confidence about her, and like she immediately accepts the situations that she is in. So like obviously momentarily in the plot of the film, she very quickly grasps the fact that this woman that she has just met has these special powers, and there isn't a moment of disbelief. There isn't a moment of testing that. It is how you can immediately use that to your advantage to better your situation. Because as we meet with, hero of the story, lovely little boy that we meet later on, who's the sweetest of hearts. Yeah,
I loved her parenting technique with him as well, because it felt really realistic. Sometimes you really just do have to go, all right, I'm not going to make a big deal of this. Do what you want. We'll talk about it later when you've calmed down. That's realistic.
Same.
She's so good with him, and like the but she's someone who is unfazed by what is going on with the world. She's clearly like dealt with some difficult things, and we see this straight away. So she's there just, she doesn't necessarily go out of her way looking for trouble. She's ordering some food and leaving, and then another customer, her boyfriend, is checking Kate Hudson out and gets busted for it by his girlfriend. Unfortunately, his girlfriend, rather than being angry with him, is angry with her.
This was kind of unfair because I'm like, is he checking her out, or are they just looking at each other? There is a difference, right? What was it?
And sometimes, Ben, I've fallen foul of this and felt ever so embarrassed because it's looked like you're staring at someone. But sometimes, when you're just looking and you're thinking, so your eyes are facing in one direction, but they're not necessarily switched on.
I use that excuse as well, Andy. I use that excuse
sometimes,
as well.
Ben, I'm looking inside my mind palace for answers to the important questions of the world, like, what order am I going to do jobs when I get back to the house? Am I going to run the Hoover around before I make a cup of tea? Or do I make a cup of tea first and let it cool while I'm doing it? Sometimes I'll be thinking of important conundrums like this. And then it turns out that like some guy on the bus thinks that you're like death staring him. Like it's terrible. And that's the situation that I think that in this case, guilty as charged, Your Honor. The guy was checking. Also, it's not Kate Hudson's fault.
This is toxic relationships status here, right? Because
why
make your problem someone else's problem? Your relationship problem, or even if it is a problem, which we don't know the history of this relationship. But she's like, I'm gonna go and kick Kate Hudson's ass,
and she pushes her and makes her drop a burger on the floor. She could be the most innocent woman in the world.
It's not even a very hard.
Finished.
It's not.
You just paid for some food and you've knocked it over.
Fuming. I'm sorry to change the subject. I've got Kate Hudson's Wikipedia page open here. The most random like pair that I remember seeing. She used to go out with Matt Bellamy from Muse. Kate Hudson did for like 4 years. That's random, isn't it? That's a random pairing.
Bellamy from Muse.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. Didn't expect that one. Oh well. Sorry. Where were we?
Horrible girlfriend pushes Kate Hudson over, and it would make you legitimately very angry. Like when you bought a pint at a gig, Ben, and someone knocks out your hand.
It's definitely happened to me. Have I told you this happened to me?
Yeah.
It's definitely
outraged. Spill it on yourself.
Queued for about 15 minutes. Fought my way all the way back to where I was stood. Yeah, what's that? And then literally someone just smashes it out of your hand, and then not on purpose, obviously, but still. Oh my god, bad times.
You've got like a 2-3 second window to fall on your knees in like the most desperate apology before not a violent man, Ben, but I just feel like the cells of my body would go nuclear and just melt the building down. I'm not one to throw hands, Ben, but I feel like just biologically I would just implode. Just so angry.
Not one to throw hands, but sometimes a bitch slap is needed, as happens here. But at least the woman ready to fight Kate Hudson takes her big hoop earrings out, which you got to do, right?
Yeah, you've got to make sure you haven't got any handles to be yanked on. So they have a little bit of a scrap, but Mona Lisa sees and intervenes, and this is where I'm leaning into that this does have horror and thriller credentials here, Ben, because it starts quite playfully, like this woman is giving herself a couple of slaps, but that fist closes up pretty fast, and then she's quite brutally like giving herself a right old thumping.
Yeah, this one was like, yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, so uncomfortable. Like, imagine doing it to yourself, like someone else doing it to you. Now that's bad, but doing it to yourself.
Yeah. Everyone's reaction as well. So when this happens a few times in this film, of people like doing things to themselves, everybody around them like going, "What are you doing? Stop!
What point
are you trying to make? What point are you trying to make?"
I mean, that boyfriend, bad bloke as he is, any policeman's going to be a likely story because he's there like, stop hitting yourself. Stop.
Is he a bad bloke?
He is. He was checking out Kate Hudson, and then not just taking it, letting his girlfriend walk out there and start a big old fight. You could just say, "Yeah, she wasn't looking at me really."
That's pretty
Gotta
bad.
take,
But I
gotta
just
take
think,
responsibility for these things.
you know, I don't want to. I'd like to be comfortable enough in a relationship where I could look anywhere I want. Not necessarily in that way, but you know, just don't. You're not controlling my eyes. Leave my eyes alone.
I've reached a certain age and point in my life, Ben, where there's be every likelihood that if a woman dressed like Kate Hudson walked into the diner where I was sitting there considering my order, I'd be interested in what food she was getting in case it was
Most definitely.
Okay,
To be fair,
what the
I
milkshakes?
want to know what she's ordering.
Yeah, what are the milkshakes like here? Is it any good?
she got a
Because you
milkshake.
can have a bad milkshake. If you have a milkshake and it actually is milk and not ice cream, deep disappointment then.
Terrible disappointment. But the thing is, I might be looking at Kate Hudson, thinking, didn't you used to go out with Matt Bellamy? And also thinking, but also I might be thinking she's attractive. I might be appreciating her hair. I might be appreciating her outfit or acrylic nails. I've not always got these. My intentions aren't always bad, you know. What'd you take me for?
Ben's throwing it out there, but like, haven't you got a top like that? Or go the other way. I think that this is from Adam and Joe podcast years ago, saying, "State of her."
Oh God! Oh no!
But see what she had for breakfast in that outfit. My
Oh
goodness.
no! That is one of my least favorite phrases ever. I hate it. Whenever anyone says that, I go, no. Let's move on from that.
So
it was a crumpet.
This it's funny enough that's I had for breakfast. But so this woman's hitting herself. Belle immediately works out who it is. She sees Mona Lisa over there. She takes her inside, buys her some chippies, and has a little chat about what's going on.
And you see how street smart she is. Like, she connects the whole situation. First of all, she knows this girl is doing mind control. Second of all, she knows this girl is hungry. So I'm going to win her over by buying her food. And the way she handles her, like, isn't this the best character ever? Like, she's taking life, like, she's seen a lot of shit. You can tell this woman has seen a lot, so nothing surprises her anymore. Like, a girl doesn't talk, mind control, okay. I mean, like, for me, like, every time my mom would tell me like a story about, have you seen this happen? My mom loves the true crime crap. She reads it and she's like, can you believe this happened? And I'm like, Mom, I'm not fazed by anything. I've seen a lot of shit. And my mom looks at me like I'm some, like Martin Scorsese character. Like, no, you're my stupid dog. But still, I'm like, I've seen this before. Like, and the building fell. Mom, I'm not surprised anymore. So, like, I like the Bonnie attitude of it all.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's it. Not being surprised by like the terrible things that can happen in the world. I think my dad's probably quite similar in a way, where he's always telling me about some terrible murder or something's happened, and he's like, "Why haven't you got any sort of reaction?" I'm like, "It's not that I'm not empathetic towards it. It's not that I don't think it's terrible. It's just
It's our generation, I think. Come on, we've seen a lot of shit, and they were such a pampered generation. Like, yeah, they've seen wars, they've seen crap, but still, it's like we've seen a lot of crappy economic bullshit where like things get handed, COVID and all of this, and we're growing up. So yeah, guys, we're not phased anymore.
Not phased, and Kate Hudson definitely isn't phased. I keep saying Kate Hudson. What's her character's name?
Bonnie.
That's it.
Bonnie. Too. I love her.
Yes. I love we will get into it, but I love when Craig Robinson's character, Officer Harold, is looking for her as well, that nobody like dobs her in, grasses her up. Sorry, that might be a turn of phrase. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. Sorry, Jamie. Dobs her in.
What dobs her?
It's like bit of dobbing. It's like you inform the police, you tell on them.
Yeah.
Oh, dobbing. You tell the police like you dobbing. Ooh, nobody dobs her in. Oh, no,
dobbing her in.
Dobbing Ben to the Cheesy Puffs police.
Exactly.
Don't dob me into the Cheesy Puffs police, all right? Don't mug me off.
So you can be mugged off, dobbed in, or grassed up. There's always a different preposition.
You better not be mugging me off, dobbing me in, or grassing me up. If you're doing any of those things, I'm gonna be fuming.
But no one does, thank goodness. So it turns out the strip club that Bonnie works at, the Panty Drop.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's take the stray woman that you found to work day. So that evening. So she takes it in. And again, we show this thing, and this is something that her son later points out, that Bonnie is very good at getting people to like her, that she's interested in or can do something for her. And you see this in the fact that she's also, when she goes back to the place, she's bought the bouncer at the nightclub.
I love her interaction
as
with
well,
the bouncer. Right? Yeah, exactly. It's so smart. I like this interaction.
Yeah. And I guess the reality is that, you know what, maybe, we don't know this. He could have said, oh, you're nipping out for lunch, will you bring me back a burger? I'm sat on the door. But I think it's presented very much that she knows, and she's keeping the bouncer sweet. I'm just looking up to see if the bouncer has a name.
Just as real as well, you know, like the kind of interactions that you'd like expect to see in real life, rather than like everything. Like when there's a strip club in any movie, it's usually always presented as like being seedy in a way, isn't it? But like it's not like that at all. Definitely. In most instances. I think
exactly, they would be like a family in a way. Like she would know about him, he would know about her. Like this felt natural to me. More than, like when you feel like this is a strip club and we have this bouncer who's like a bitch and she's like scared or she's like fighting. I don't know. Something is forced in a way, but not here.
Yeah, I agree with that, definitely.
I mean, it's pretty quiet. It is a Wednesday night as we hear the announcement, and they've got some excellent deals on wings. Don't know why she had to pop out to the burger place. But she did. So it's a pretty quiet night, and then there are some right old like douches, probably the worst baddies of the film, right? There are some horrible blokes in there that they're there at the strip club, and they make a point of giving her a fairly awful tip, and expecting her to be grateful for it, right? They were like, oh,
$2, right?
I can't believe it. $2, you bastards. Imagine me dancing my ass off to get $2.
I'm dancing my ass off over here.
That hurts.
I mean, difficult. My ass off at the panty drop.
Difficult for us as Brits, though, Jaylan. Like tipping's an unfamiliar thing for us here, because
Wow. Okay, now I gotta learn.
Well, especially
but if you guys go to the strip club, you don't tip the strip. Now I'm gonna feel.
I don't know. I understand it with food. The rule with food is if you pay before you don't. If you pay before you get the food, you don't tip. If you pay after you get the food, then you do.
Oh yeah, I think it's. Yeah. I think in America it's even different from here in Egypt. Like here, tipping is kind of optional because they already have like service and stuff like that. So if you tip, you're like a more generous, or you're trying to.
So service is built into your standard pricing.
Definitely, yeah.
In America, loads of most jobs where anyone does anything for you, be it your cafe or your bar or your anything, tipping is likely how a lot of people earn a living, a survivable wage. When we lived in Korea, quite the opposite. I don't know if it's changed. I've not lived there for 13 years, but like when we lived over there, culturally, certainly then, they didn't really tip. I've had people chase me down the street from bars to give me my change that I deliberately left.
Oh, wow.
People literally been chased down the street. Oh no, you forgot your money. Or another time, a bar we went to very regularly, we went in there, we would always, because we're so used to it, and it wasn't even that you were doing the calculation. It was like, the bill is this much, I'll round it up to the nearest whatever, a reasonable, exactly. A nearable level, and I'll just leave that, and then I will leave immediately and not expect my change. Another time we went back, and the bar owner came over and said, oh, hi, last time you were here, you paid too much money.
Wow.
No way. Really? What? They just went, you paid too much? Oh,
it's really good getting extra money, like finding them in your pocket, like, oh, that's my lucky day, give it to me.
Yeah. And eventually we would, and eventually we'd be like, no, it's like, we're trying to give you extra, but culturally they don't, it's not really a thing. So it's difficult, but in England it's complicated because there are things you tip for, but not to the same degree as the US. So it's a very weird situation. But
it is.
I think we're not so blind to these ways that we would understand that paying a stripper was something that adding $2 to was not offensive.
I think adding $2 to anything is kind of a little bit offensive, isn't it? A little
Imagine, like, don't even tip, you know what I mean? Like, have you guys heard my cat? Because he's wreaking hell.
We can't hear him.
Good, awesome. So no, imagine like $2 to this woman who busted her ass for your pleasure, you little. I don't know. Like for me, I was just pissed because they were like, the way they're portrayed, it makes you hate them. Like they're, like we're dudes. We're just there to see naked girls, and we don't want to tip them. So like, what? It just pisses me off.
Yeah, and these are probably the only male characters in the whole film that are presented in this way, aren't they? And in a negative, in a negative
yeah, as
light,
uncomplicatedly awful.
Yeah. So what happens from here? Obviously, Kate Hudson.
A quick conversation with Mona Lisa, and then she explains what they're doing at a strip club, and then she goes and uses her powers to make them basically empty their wallets and give them give her all of the money.
This is interesting. Mona Lisa is always interested in gaining new information, whether it's because she's been locked away for so long that she's forgotten. Maybe it's that she never ever knew. We don't really know. So yeah, when Fuzz says about kissing her, she's like, why? And then again, when she works out that people are paying to see women take their clothes off, she also says why.
No, why do they like looking at beautiful women? And that's how she positioned it. Like, all the beautiful things in the world, more beautiful than butterflies and rainbows and all these other things. You like looking at naked women the most.
I'll tell you what,
worth more than $2.
I love going to the butterfly house in the zoo. Is that what it's called? What's it called? The butterfly.
Yeah,
a butterfly house is a thing.
I'm always just giving them $2 tips at the butterfly house. Oh, you're so beautiful. Yeah, that's right. Flap those wings.
I'm always chucking coins down in the flower beds as I go past. For you.
For you. Yeah, that's kind of the way she portrays it. But it makes sense to Mona Lisa, doesn't it?
Yeah, so she uses her powers, but obviously you're not controlling these people's... There's a subtlety to the powers. You're not controlling these people's minds, Professor X style. You are puppeting their bodies. So they're there all the time going, what am I doing? Why am I taking this money out of my pocket? I don't want to do this. And they give her the money, and then when they kick off, having visibly handed the money over, they incur the wrath of the bouncer, who I think is called Snacky. And he
what's his name? Snacky.
Snacky.
They called him because he loves.
That's why he likes snacks. That's why he likes his.
Wow. That's how you buy him, with snacks.
I like he's got a little table there as well, where he's bouncing. He's just got this little table, perfect for the snacks.
Yeah, perfect for snacks. So he bounces those douchebags, and then that's clearly going to be their racket. She takes Mona Lisa back to a house, and she meets her son, little Charlie.
Yeah, so Charlie, played by Evan Whitten, again a really well written. Whitten is a well written character.
Amazing.
Yeah, just like really, he's got such an interesting personality. Like he's a little metalhead, and he sort of he teaches Mona Lisa about. Does he just call it moshing? I can't remember if I missed that. He did call it something, didn't he?
He calls it something else that isn't moshing. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm
he did, didn't
cool
he?
enough to know what it's called, Ben.
I don't know what it was. I think moshing is kind of like, I don't know what else you'd call it, really. But yeah, he calls it something else. I couldn't quite work out what he was listening to. I thought it was Mastodon initially, but then I don't think it was. But yeah, he kind of like teaches Mona Lisa about that, and she gets involved in it as well, doesn't she?
Yeah, and they in a scene later on, they become friends. But before they do that, we have another day where Bonnie takes Mona Lisa out. She gives her a bath in the morning, and then takes her out to rob people at the ATM.
Now that's kind of mean, Bonnie. I love you, but this is getting too far, because imagine
old guy with his little dog as well.
I feel bad for this guy. Like, you can imagine, it doesn't have a lot anyway, so it just keeps robbing him.
Yeah.
$500
My
from
note
the
on this
savings.
one was just, oh no, she's bad. Just
You're bad, I like you. It's even
Yeah.
sexier that way.
yeah.
It's sexier that way. But this is the thing. Even though she's doing something like pretty bad, like I don't know, part of you still kind of like understands that she's out for herself, but like not in a really, really sinister way. It's not
Yeah.
like, yeah, not that I would agree with this, but you know, it doesn't feel in the grand scheme of things too bad. You know, she's gonna get her comeuppance anyway. Not to say she even deserves it. Not
No.
not
I don't
the
know. She
comeuppance she
shouldn't rob
gets
the
either.
lovely little old man with his little dog. And then not
Okay,
only
okay.
does she use Mona Lisa's powers to draw money out of the ATM, $500, then she puts him in a taxi. It's going to cost him.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
poor thing. Yeah, I mean,
Just turn around and go,
hello.
it's $20, please. Sorry, what? How did I even get here? Yeah, it was not. That's the thing. It's not a thing that kind of like it doesn't change your memory of events either, does it? So you kind of like you're aware of it.
You're
You
wearing
can
your
say to the
power
taxi
gloves.
driver, stop immediately.
yeah. How long does it last? Exactly. Do you get like 10 meters down the street and you go right? Stop it. So is pretty much at the same time where we see Craig Robinson in hospital and kind of doing a little bit of digging himself, speaking to
Yeah.
the other police officers and working out where Mona
Yeah, so
Lisa is.
He's out of hospital now, and he nips along to the thing, and they're reviewing the footage from the people who, I think the other two police officers are joking that like this guy was livid, says that this woman robbed him, but the video footage shows him just handing over the money. And they said like she used like hypnosis on him or something, and he watches the video and he recognizes and he recognizes, oh, that's the girl that I saw, and who's that with her? One of the other policemen, there was like, oh, that's renowned stripper Bonnie Bell. I was like, I didn't know
that. Oh yeah, I just know I never forget a face. He says. It's also he also interviews the guy at the institution who was eating the cheesy poofs, and says. So he's already building up like an idea of like, look, it wasn't just me who experienced this phenomenon; other people are experiencing it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly, there's something to it.
And he goes and sees someone at like a voodoo shop and gets some chicken feet as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Because they say that the lady there says it will protect him from the voodoo of Mona Lisa.
Yeah, which it doesn't, or does it?
No, it unfortunately doesn't. So at this point, then, like we have some back and forth here where, I guess this is before we now have a day where they're at home where Mona Lisa goes out with Charlie, and this is where they become friends. They've done some moshing together. And then he shows her the thing that he likes to do is to draw. He draws a lovely picture of her.
Oh, it's
and
a great picture as well, right?
And it is a very good picture. And he has a black eye from where some horrible bullies have been picking on him. And then at the end of their little day out, they happen to see him. He's doing some classic bully activities, just egging houses.
These are also are gonna be the guys in the strip club when they grow up who don't tip strippers. I feel like those idiots.
They come full circle. Throwing eggs 1 minute, not tipping the next. Has he got like a cut on his head as well, the kid? Is that explained?
He's got like a black eye, and I think he's just been beaten up by those rotten kids. Is it Paulie is his name?
Paulie? That sounds like a Martin Scorsese like character.
Hey, Paulie!
Hey, Paulie! What are you doing? Hey, what are you doing egging that house over there, Paulie? God damn, 12 eggs. I
can't see it called Paulie on here. So there's a horrible little lad egging houses, and at first he's not. You know, Mona Lisa is a young woman, but she's still visibly an adult, and he's like, "Oh, get out of the way so I can beat up this kid." But she uses her psychic powers. Yeah, she sounds angry like this dog. She gets up and gets him to smash loads of eggs into himself very deliberately. It must have been a fun job as a young actor to be like pretending to be psychically piloted to smash eggs into your own face and body.
I know.
Why are eggs so white in America? That's weird, isn't it? Is that only me who notices that? What color are eggs in Egypt?
I think they're kind of white too. Like, yeah, the yellow is there, but I think the white is very
In
more.
the UK, they're very like, how would you
Like,
describe them?
Eggshells
You're
are
gonna
like, well, they're an eggshell color. They're like sort of brownish.
Yeah.
can-
So when you
Oh,
see like,
we have both, I think. We have the brownish ones and we have the
yeah.
whiter ones.
I always feel like white eggs are like duck eggs in this country.
Yeah. I'm always fascinated with these little details. Sorry, I can't help it.
Maybe
Yeah, but this
America
is
we've been eating
awesome. It
duck
makes
eggs
me
all
think
this
of-
time. I've just never checked.
Oh, the chicken eggs, I think, are all
Yeah.
brown, right?
Yeah, chicken
Oh.
eggs are brown, certainly here. Or you can get blue eggs if you're very fancy and you're shopping at M&S.
Oh, and if you like, yeah,
Blue?
sure, definitely. Hello, can I get the
They're not-
blue eggs?
They're not really blue. They're just like
Oh, yeah.
slightly bluey brown.
Duck egg blue.
But
Yeah,
like the
like that.
fancy chicken that eats while violins are playing and all that. Oh wow, yeah, I love it.
They're
So
the
much.
fancy, they're the
I'm
fanciest
gonna
chickens.
have like dinner with the queen.
I
Sure.
love it.
Yeah, you are.
That's what happens. That's what happens for M&S. Anyone who shops at M&S gets that.
You're just handsome when you walk in. Oh no! I was trying to see. I was trying to see the difference of different coloured eggs, and I've come across a more terrible, like real life horror. Apparently, white eggs come from chickens with white feathers. Brown eggs come from chickens with brown feathers.
That sounds too simple.
So
an
it's
answer.
simple as that.
What
But
about the bluish? It come from what? Peacocks and like
blue chickens. So
Blue chickens.
maybe they
Smurf.
paint the chickens blue, and eventually, like
because
they
they're
have the colour
blue-blooded.
base.
They're like bred differently. They're like from a different.
The royal chickens. They're swan eggs. But in looking up why certain eggs are different colors, I found a product that is a deeply unsettling thing. You can just get something called liquid eggs, which is just
I've seen that.
Bottle of eggs. I don't like that at all, Ben.
Yeah. So like they crack all the eggs into a thing, and then it's almost like it's not like yolks and egg whites either. It's like all mixed together, isn't it? And it's like a bottle.
Well,
It's like a bottle of eggs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called liquid eggs. You can have liquid egg whites.
Oh, you can.
Yeah. I tell you what, Ben. You can buy it in bulk, 6 liters for £32. I feel like eggs would be cheaper. I don't know. A liter of eggs is a lot.
A liter of yellows too? Like, okay,
Yeah.
the whites are okay, but
No, I think that's just egg whites. I'm not sure if you can get yellows. I'm not googling this any further.
Goodness,
I found
no, please, enough of that.
I read that because I think it's like a fitness thing, or it's like in the fitness industry, people get liquid eggs because I think a boxer recently failed a drugs test, and the reason he said he failed the drugs test, he's like, I've been having too many eggs. That's why. I don't know why that would make him fail a drugs test, but then it came out that he'd been chugging on the liquid eggs.
Oh my god, the things people would do for
because he's washing down his steroids with them. Actually, don't know.
Exactly.
If you're that boxer, listen, I'm sure you're not a cheat.
Yeah.
Especially if your punches are infused with steroid powder.
Damn.
He's gonna
I don't
find
want to
you.
see your bathroom, buddy. Sorry, I don't want to
Oh
even
my
pass
god,
by
can you
it.
imagine? Jesus, you'd have to go and do it somewhere else. You couldn't do it in the comfort of your own home.
Imagine this is your boyfriend. No, thank you. You're not doing it here, baby.
You're driving down to Macca's every morning.
Yeah. See you later. Right.
But yeah, he doesn't have to. These guys don't have to drive down to Macca's because their eggs have not been consumed into their bellies. They've been smashed onto a bully's face, and he goes off on his merry way. Not merry way. He's very sad about it. He's quite upset. But that bully situation sorted. Those two, so Mona Lisa and little Charlie, are fast friends at this point. To the point he points out that his mom is very good at making people like her when she can do something for them. And he immediately puts the cat amongst the pigeons by saying, oh, hey, she doesn't have to go to work with you to help you rob loads of money off people. Technically, just psychically encouraging tipping. But she does the, Mona Lisa goes with Bonnie to work, and the next scene we just see her rolling around like Scrooge McDuck in like just a fountain of money that's being thrown at her.
Scrooge. This was a great shot as well, right? It was like it was like kind of upside down, and the money.
Yeah, this was done beautifully.
And then she's got like a wig on her bonds as well.
Yeah, she's got a wig on her and some glasses. Like, stylistically, this film is an absolute treat. We get lots of shots of the titular blood moon. We get lots of great like lighting effects and everything in this. And I was also a big fan of, however, whenever Mona Lisa uses her powers and really stares at someone intensely, we get the it's like the Jaws zoom, where camera goes in while the camera moves forward while being zoomed out, and it kind of warps that perspective slightly.
Crash zoom? That's not exactly what it is it? But it's kind of similar to that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really effectively done, but she's done it again, and the other strippers are not happy about it because basically all the guys in the club have thrown all of this money at her.
Oh yeah.
Against their will, sort of, and now have no money left and are kind of leaving angrily.
Yeah, a couple of them say you better sleep with one eye open.
Yeah, because bloody get you.
Bloody get you. And that is when police officer Harold turns up with his cane, looking for Bonnie. And I love
his interaction with Snacky here, where it's like, can I just go and look at it? And he's like, yeah, $30. No, that's
yeah, it's good. And then he texts Bonnie to say, there's a cop looking for you with a cane. And then so essentially her and Mona Lisa immediately leave, run away, only to be pursued Michael Myers style by Officer Harold, ever so slow, calling after him, somebody stop him. And nobody obviously obliges.
He finally catches up with them in like a quiet parking lot. Did you hear me shouting you? She's like, oh no, sorry.
Oh yeah, I like that. No, sorry, I didn't. Where were you running away? I'm just late.
Just awesome. Seriously.
Yeah. It's really good, but then this bit kind of makes me sad because the wheels kind of fall off. That once he's realized that he's going to arrest Bonnie, Mona Lisa, Bonnie does sort of throw her under the bus and say like, "Oh, she just stayed at my house for a couple of days. I don't know who this is." Yeah. And Bonnie has had, she throws her under the bus, but Mona Lisa has had enough of it, so she uses her powers she doesn't hurt Officer Harold this time. She just says, do you like people? Why do you like them? And it's a good, she asks them, why do you like people? And, why don't you want to hurt them? But then she doesn't hurt him this time. She just handcuffs him or makes him handcuff himself to the railings and then walks away and then heads off, right?
Yeah. Doesn't shoot him in the other knee, which would have been a shame.
That would have been awful.
I don't know if he's even carrying his gun. I feel like you wouldn't carry your gun if you knew you were going after somebody who could do that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And this is where then the chicken feet don't work because he holds one up and then she just makes him drop it.
Oh, yeah. That's good. I like that. It's a nice little detail, isn't it?
So Mona Lisa heads back home and decides that she is going to leave. She doesn't like Bonnie anymore. But Charlie asks if he can come with her. Meanwhile, Bonnie is walking home and she encounters those three horrible blokes from the nightclub, from the strip club earlier on, she extracted all the tips from. It's quite a brutal scene, right? This is probably where we lean most into the horror because, again, we talked about the skill of the shot placement in this and the way that everything is positioned. It's not for a violent scene of three guys assaulting, like a woman. It's not really stylized in the least. It's quite a straightforward, made all the more brutal by its simplicity, right?
Exactly. I totally agree. It was just, like there was nothing stylistic about it. There was no great camera work. It was just there, like grim and brutal and realistic, and I don't know, it just felt too real.
In many ways, I think skillfully done
Even
in
the
looking
way
at the things that we are sensitive to. Like now, again, between horror movies and the way that action movies work right now, like we can see absolutely bone crunching fights in a superhero movie and it is entertainment, and you see big over the top hits and people being knocked every way from Sunday all over a scene. You can see bones being broken in a martial arts movie, and it is, I would say, less affecting than what was a very simply shot mugging, effectively followed by an assault in this alleyway, where these guys, they get their money back from them, from Bonnie, and then just all beat her up quite badly.
exactly. And
It
the way
felt like
she's even negotiating with them, it just felt brutal. Like, are you guys gonna fuck? Like, the way
she
she
said.
said, as if she's accepting the worst, like she's preparing herself to accept the worst. And this is not a good situation for a woman to be in. But at the same time, she's just, like she's standing her ground. And I don't know, I liked everything about it. You would imagine this is Bonnie and this is how she would be dealing. You keep thinking, what must have Bonnie been through before to make her that prepared for something like that? So I don't know. It's a great scene and unexpected in a movie like that.
Yeah.
Where everything is so dreamy and like.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna say, was that everything else kind of feels dreamy and like almost like fantasy, where nothing quite feels real, but these moments of realism feel so real that they really do stand out in that film. But yeah, and then obviously they attack her, and then does she just wake up in the hospital, or is that a little bit later?
we next see her waking up in the hospital later, and we did skip earlier when they leave for work that day. Charlie has a row with his mum and says that he hates her. He just uses people. That she just uses people. And this is where you said, Ben, that there's a realism in a conversation with her son there, where she's like, you're really angry right now. Yeah, we're gonna let this one slide. And we'll catch it later. But he does choose to run away with Mona Lisa, and then who should they go and see? But their friend, man that they met once, who apparently is still hanging outside the shop without his shirt that he lost that day.
It's like a Jay and Silent Bob scenario, where like if you want to go look for them, you know exactly what shop they're going to be outside of.
Yeah, they're going to be outside that convenience store all the time, even though that shopkeeper is very unfriendly.
And he also says, I told you she was going to come back. I told you I was going to see her again. So he's clearly been talking about her like fondly as well.
Yeah, and his name is Fuzz. So they go and see Fuzz, and he takes them to get some help. We very quickly see that they're listed as a fugitive, and now made even more serious that there's a missing child.
Yeah, so that's on TV. Obviously, the kid, Charlie, yeah,
Charlie,
is very excited that they're on TV. He's kind of like, this is cool. Can't believe we're on TV. Amazing. Yeah, and how does Fuzz help them?
So he helps them. He gets some fake IDs printed for them. They've already taken money from the jar of savings they have in the thing, and they decide to run away. They go to the airport, and they're going to get tickets to the first place that's leaving. And this is turned around. Like, we perhaps had our initial reaction to Fuzz, so Ed Skrein character. It's been dampened by the fact that he turned out not to be creepy like we thought. And then we're really sort of a lot more endeared to him here now, because he's pretty good with the kid. Where the kid asks if he's a drug dealer and says, well, I've dealt drugs all the time, but that doesn't make me I've dealt drugs once or twice in my life, but I'm not a drug dealer.
Doesn't he call him baby boy as well?
Yeah, he calls him, don't call me baby boy. Is that, well, don't call me a drug dealer then. And he helps them, and he clearly does have a very genuine fondness for Mona Lisa, because by the time they By the time he's
yeah.
helped them get the fake IDs and everything like that, he's set her up. He's given her his sunglasses. He's made her he's got some headphones for her. He's got her a mixtape that he's recorded onto. And like, baller move for
A mix.
you know, for a mixtape. I've got you an iPod Shuffle. With
Giving anyone a mixtape is a great move. You know, they're gonna appreciate it and love it.
Give you a mixtape of songs that remind me of you. A pure romance that we do not see in this day and age. What do people do now? They make a Spotify playlist for someone they like.
Yeah, it's a Spotify playlist. Yeah, you know it's getting serious when you send a Spotify playlist link.
You guys are serious? Damn. I haven't been dating for a long time, but if this happens to me, I'm so depressed.
Not me personally, but I've definitely seen it. I've definitely seen it and heard stories of it.
You still burn a CD, do you? Ben, it's still old school.
I still burn a CD. Yeah. I don't even know if my computer's even got a disk drive. Don't think it does.
I genuinely didn't notice the first laptop I had didn't have a disk drive until I tried to watch a DVD, and I was like, "There's no DVD drive on this anymore."
No DVD drive. My laptop has got no USB ports.
Yeah, me too.
That's crazy, isn't it?
The last one had DVD, but no, this one. Sadly.
Sad.
Just kind of snuck away. And tell you what, Ben, real life horrors, when you ever try and buy a new laptop now and it wants to give you no hard drive space or cloud storage. I fucking want cloud storage.
It's all in the cloud. When the apocalypse happens, it will all vanish. Okay. So, do we miss out the fact that Mona Lisa gets a haircut as well?
She does get a haircut when they're getting their photos taken. So they're, it's a total restyling at the airport. And the last bit of advice that Fuzz gives them, because Charlie is quite nervous. Again, great performance. He does a great little manic kid that overthinks things act here. And he just gives him some chewing gum and says, "Chew this gum, because if you look chill, then you're gonna feel chill."
I like it. It's good advice.
It's great. He's great. And it really turns on the head. Like the person who I think most overtly feels like a threatening character, probably one of the nicest people they meet.
Exactly.
100%. Also, I loved Charlie working it when he was getting his photos taken. For his ID. Absolutely working it.
That's a Hollywood kid.
Loving the camera.
Very.
So they go to the airport and they pretty much buy a first ticket out of there, and paying cash $800. Jesus, that's a lot.
But Harold's on the trail. He's on the way.
Harold's officially on the trail. Yeah, obviously the word has gone out that there's an Asian woman with a kid in tow who's.
But I've realised that he's at the hospital first, right? And he's talking to Bonnie, and he kind of like she's been kind of aloof about her son, but he gets to her a little bit, and tells her off like, "Shame on you," and she's, "Oh, okay, fine, whatever. Like, of course I want to see my kid. What's happened? Maybe I don't deserve to because I'm bad." But she does agree to help them, and then when he's nipped off for a wee, Charlie decides that he does want to speak to his mum, and he asks a kindly gentleman if he can borrow his phone. He's fine with it, and he phones his mum, which is, if you've ever seen those programs where people try to evade the fugitive hunters, it's phoning your family that always gets you rumbled then.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the first place they look.
I was going to ring them, say hello. They'll trace it. Nah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah, and it's obviously we're not looking for real fugitives. When you watch these programs for entertainment value, it's, I'm going to be away from my kids for a fortnight. You know what? Guarantee your kids will be happy to see you for a fortnight later and not having had a quick conversation with you if you come home with 50 grand or whatever it is you win.
Exactly, you idiot.
Yeah, just don't loot. It was like, I just want to speak to my kid.
I was watching this movie. It's a really good movie called Queen and Slim. And the guy was so attached to his family. The girl was such a badass. She didn't have anybody to care for. And they were like, no phones on the strip. They were evading their fugitives across America. And what he does, and I was so happy that she convinced him. He goes and hides in the toilet behind her back and calls his father. The moment he does it, I'm like, you stupid bitch, she told you. And yes, the police were surrounding his father. The moment he picks up, boom.
Trace it.
And I'm just like, why? She told you they're better off without you. Now you're putting them in danger and stuff like that. I don't know, like, ugh.
Oh dear. Oh dear. I think I've
If
heard
you're ever
some good
gonna
things.
go on if you're ever gonna go on the run for a television program, or otherwise, just say everything you need to say before you go. Say, look, it's gonna be a while until I'm not on the run. Chat to you later.
Exactly. Or even, like just try to reinvent yourself as a new person. Like this new person has no family, no history, nothing. And just let them deal with the mess alone and you deal with the mess alone because they're better off without you. Trust me. You've done a lot of shit and it's obviously gonna cause both parties harm.
Or send them a letter that they can't trace. Like, send a letter.
Like use secret ink or shit like that they used
Yeah.
to do.
A ransom
Yeah,
note.
get into some real spy stuff. Don't blow it, but
So when they're he has a change of heart, doesn't he, Charlie, in the airport?
yeah, he phones his mom and says, "Hey, you don't need to worry about me anymore. I'm going to be fine." But that's enough time for the police to trace it, and then Officer Harold is on his way. Police Officer Harold straight on the way to the
very slowly
airport.
We'll
Oh yeah,
be
ever
there.
so slowly. And someone else has got to drive because he is in a boot right now, in like a leg brace. But he's there, and we have bits of the comedy. He's like, right, don't look at her eyes. Like, I know that sounds ridiculous, but don't. And this is who it is, and then you need to make
She
all
got
the
like
ID
little
checks.
star-shaped sunglasses as well.
We have some moments of tension where they go through airport security and it's all fine. They get through and they're waiting at the gate. And Officer Harold is there and he's getting them to check IDs. And again, star of the show, this little Charlie is like, he knows what's coming. He wells up with tears and he gives Mona Lisa a final hug and then runs over and grabs the hand of another Asian woman and then basically says like, help, I'm being abducted.
I'm being abducted by this woman.
God. Yeah. It's great, and that allows her to slip onto the plane because the attention is elsewhere. That's the person that's been caught.
Even the guy on the plane's really nice to her, right?
Yeah, he teaches her how to use the seatbelt. Like, she's hopefully going off to better things. Officer Harold interrogates the little boy and says, "What plane is she on?" And he sells him a dummy by like looking like he's got through to him and then telling him the wrong one. They take him back to his mom. He's reunited, and she actually does love him and hugs him. They're reunited, and we end by seeing Mona Lisa fly off on the plane with a big blood moon in the sky.
We do get from the abusive, violent bastards who attacked Kate Hudson's character. One of them gets knocked out, right? By
in a mid-credit scene,
Snacky
beats fuck out of him in the street. They just walk past the strip club again. He sees them and just gives them all a thumping.
Gives them all a thumping, and then goes back to his hot dog,
his snack table.
I love that he didn't turn back around to see if like anyone was there was gonna be any repercussions. He knows. One of them says, "You broke my nose."
Such a good friend.
Just shrugs. He shrugs. Everyone in the street cheers. And we're like, see ya.
Awesome. Okay, well that is Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon. What have you got any name game, Andy? I haven't got any. So if you've got two,
you know what, Ben? During the course of the episode, I managed to pull a third.
Oh wow! What hero?
So
explain
Jaylan,
the concept of this.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we play the name game where usually it's a lot simpler than this, but the rhyming is pretty fierce in this one. So we'll pick a film with a slightly different synopsis, and I'm talking to a published poet here as well. The conventions of rhyming here are often quite tenuous, but it will rhyme sort of with the title of the film we're talking about here, but it would match the synopsis that I would give instead.
You want me to guess the name of the movie? Are you serious?
Yeah, the movie the conceptual movie that we've come up here.
So with one example, you'll probably understand how it works. It can be pretty straight simple.
Okay, Ben, do you have the synopsis of this movie for me to work with?
Sure. So the synopsis is: a girl with unusual powers escapes from a mental asylum and tries to make it on her own in New Orleans.
Okay. A girl with incredible mental powers escapes from an asylum and reinvents herself as a telemarketing fraudster selling to people access to a lunar body with the face of an Ant-Man star.
Jesus Christ. Mother of God. So it's Rud Moon, right?
Yeah, it's Rud Moon.
Rud Moon. Phoner.
Yeah, she's a phoner. And she's a scam artist.
Phoner.
What is this?
Like yeah. What's a scam artist, Andy? Like
someone who's like, they're taking they're taking that money off people because they're not really going to own a piece of the Paul Rudd Moon.
Phoner. I can't think. Give me a clue. This is a really difficult one as well, Jaylan. Like, of all the examples we've done, this is
the hardest one ever. I guess she could also be selling kind of warm winter wear to them as well. That's what she could also be doing. She could be putting it on them rather than just...
Phoner, Fleecer.
That's right. Phoner, Fleecer, and the Rudd Moon is that film. Jaylan, you picked the worst one because there are no simple rhymes for this movie. I've already taxed Ben to the limit, so you get 1,000,000 points if you're able to, if any normal human can get just one of these.
This section of the show, Jaylan, usually pushes me to the limit, and I do it every week, and I still can't grasp it. So
the second one,
so hard, damn
it. The second one's a little easier. I reckon this is the easiest one.
Don't believe you.
So, after escaping from a mental institution, two members of Springfield's most famous family try to warn everyone of an impending deluge of water.
What? I don't want to make a...
Homer, Lisa.
Yes, Homer, comma, Lisa.
Flood.
Yeah, and the flood.
And the flood soon.
That's right. Homer,
I've absolutely
Lisa,
nailed
and the
it.
flood soon. Absolutely nailed it.
Yeah!
Wow, you're so good. How is this even possible? Are you serious?
Again, it's because I do it every week. I feel like I know exactly how Andy's brain works these days.
Homer, Lisa.
Oh, damn it.
Homer, Lisa, and the flood soon.
The flood soon. Wow.
Yeah, and the last one. Geez, so this is a deep cut even for you, I think. So, it will really hinge. I think if anyone will get this celebrity, you will. So, the original physical model used to design popular Tomb Raider character Lara Croft creates herself a husband out of dirt.
Mud Groom.
Yeah, it's the Mud Groom.
Just looking at Jaylan's face just during the whole of this.
Goodness, I'm like deer in headlights. I don't know shit of this game. This game,
wait,
game.
And this game is scaring the shit out of me. Like, what am I supposed to do? How do you even? Okay, out of what he said, how did you think of? What did you just say?
I said he
made a potential husband out of dirt. So from that he was able to get Mud Groom.
Mud Groom.
Yeah. So it's supposed to sound like the film title. Based on his clue, it'll rhyme with it essentially, but I don't know the first bit. The body model for Tomb Raider? Nell McAndrew?
It's not Nell McAndrew, it was before Nell McAndrew. She went on to have an acting career in films including Ali G in the House, The Number 23, Hollowman, and Doomsday. Neil Marshall's Doomsday.
Oh yeah. I can picture her, but I do not remember what her name is at all. Is her name?
I'll give you a clue. It vaguely rhymes with Mona Lisa.
You're gonna have to tell me.
It's Rona Mitra and the Mud Groom.
Rona Mitra and the Mud Groom. Oh, fuck this. Oh, are you guys serious? Like, I feel like I'm a toddler. What kind of published
No.
You know
You
when
guys
Jaylan
are like,
said,
this is
fuck
scary and
this?
so...
If it's like the
And
thing is, if it's like a film that's like got 2 words in it, I think you'd be far more likely to participate because it's like this.
Give me an example, like Heat.
Okay.
Okay,
so,
let me come up with one off the top of the dome, Ben.
Did you say Heat? Like Heat, the movie Heat. Okay, so for example, like the movie Heat, a group of high-end professional thieves start to feel the heat from the LAPD when they unknowingly leave a clue at the butcher shop.
Meat.
Exactly.
Yes.
See?
That's it.
It's not you that's stupid. It's this particular round of this game.
I'm trying to think of a different example.
Okay, but wait, a Cinderella story.
Okay, a Cinderella story.
I hit a Cinderella story.
It's that stupid one. Yeah.
Okay, I got one. No, wait. Okay. A Cinderella story. I'm trying to. It's hard to come up with them off the top of the dome. I know Andy's usually pretty good at it.
I'll try and do a Cinderella story.
Oh no, I got it. Routinely exploited by her wicked stepmother, the downtrodden Samantha Montgomery is excited about the prospect of meeting a date that she swiped on the latest app on. The latest dating app.
Tinderella.
A Tinderella story.
Well, a Tinderella story. You could take it one step further. Excited to meet a man from there. A Tinder fella story.
A Tinder fella story. Oh la la. Yeah, so now it makes sense. But Mona Lisa, no. I need a lot of practice for this.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing, Jaylan. The reason is I've had so much practice.
Almost 300 episodes.
It's become second nature to me. And as I said, I feel like I can kind of understand the way Andy's brain will work.
Yeah, exactly. You know him. But for me, like Andy was like a cryptic god coming from the depths of hell, unleashed on me, and I'm supposed to decipher whatever the shit he's saying.
And when I got it right, it was impressive, right? I want to watch a Tinder fella story.
Yeah, me too.
There are so many of these films that we end up watching that I think, yeah,
watch that.
I'd love to watch this.
Is that it though, Andy?
That's the 3.
What are they doing? Cutting parts of their body or just munching on barbecue and shit?
Which of those 3 films would you like to watch the most, Ben?
Meat.
Mona Lisa and the Rud Moon, Rona Mitra and the Mud Groom, or Homer Lisa and the Flood Soon?
Yeah, Homer Lisa and the Flood
Soon. Homer Lisa and the Flood Soon.
Just an episode of The Simpsons.
Yeah. So the next part of the show,
where they're recast as Noah and getting ready to build the ark. Should have gone for that.
The next part of the show is far more easy to participate in. We've got to rate the movie, Jaylan, from A to F. We go for plus and minus as well. So where would you
Classic
rate
school grades?
School grades, Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon, and I guess and why?
Okay.
What do you think? How do you think you're gonna score it? You're thinking. You really are thinking about it.
Rating the movie from A to F?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where would you rate it?
So A to F. So which is the, like, A is the ace and F is like the fail? Wow. Yeah. Ace of, or like B, like beautiful, or like
B for beautiful. It's a beautiful film, isn't it?
Or like a blowjob good. Blowjob level of goodness.
What are you doing there? Are you rating sex acts based on which one you think is the best? B for blowjob, A for let's not go there. But I know exactly what you're thinking, and I agree.
Yeah, so it's like an A for me, based on the rating that I give.
Are we calling it a B?
Yeah, I think B for like.
B. I think B is fair. Yeah.
Blow good.
Blow good.
Good.
B for blowjob good. Do you know what? I'm gonna carry that forward into my life and start rating things. How good was it? Probably as good as a blowjob, not as good as a rib job. That's not number one.
I mean, you've got to make sure we don't use that, Ben, because obviously these things these ratings in our day-to-day lives mostly appear in in school reports. You don't want to be pulling this out at a parents' evening.
No.
All right, Mr. Smith,
What?
how's my kids doing in geography? B, I see, blowjob good, eh? What? I think you should leave the premises. It's you the one that marked it that way.
Get out.
Shame on you, Mr. Errington.
Shame on you, Mr. Errington. The police are on their way. I think I'm gonna join you, Jaylan, on a B. Now, I'm not.
What's that for? Blowjob good, right?
It's B for blowjob good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a B. Oh, I don't want to say a B minus. That would be like a bad blowjob. You know what I mean? When it's a bit
subpar one.
It has to be like
a subpar one. You're not putting any effort in. It's like
you're not giving it your heart.
That's so close to just being a Copperfield C.
Give it your heart and soul, but not your teeth. Okay, I think I'll go for a straightforward B, because I think obviously this is a podcast about horror films, and I think as a horror film, it probably doesn't quite make the grade, because there are some elements that you could consider horror, and of course, like telekinesis, or not necessarily telekinesis, like mind control, is always like that. But it doesn't really have much of a sinister edge. Like even the antagonists, essentially, of course, the terrible thing happens with the guys from the strip club, but even like the antagonist as such, like a police officer, is a good guy, and his intentions are, pretty good. So. But I think in terms of how well made a film it is, and the performances from everybody involved, and the cinematography and the soundtrack and everything else, I think I'm just going to go for a straightforward B. If I was rating it as a horror movie, I might go slightly lower, but as a movie experience, as a rounded movie experience, I'll go for a B.
Can I just talk before Andy? I like this rating so much because I just imagined the bad movie that is E, erectile dysfunction bad.
Oh my god, that's literally the worst. I don't want to say we've all been there, but what I'm saying is
what's worse than that? Even an F is gonna be
A,
better.
B, C, D. F is just for fuck's sake.
For fuck's sake,
it's fallen off. F is fallen off. It's fallen off. It's dried up and fallen off. Sorry. E for erectile dysfunction. D for dick kind of soft.
It's very late, everybody. You can tell we've gone mad. We've gone squirrely.
You better rate it, Andy, and don't be rude.
I won't be rude. It is. I agree with you, Ben. And actually, you know what? We've had a similar vibe to this in the opposite the other week when Stu was on with us, Jaylan. We talked about Tremors, which we all agreed probably absolutely standard 3-star movie, which I gave an absolute A to because it's bang on from what I wanted for a movie. These ratings about how much we enjoyed the movie. I do agree with you, Ben, that if we're rating this as a horror movie, it peters down a little bit because it's, you know what? It's not traditionally the sinister. It's got enough for us to warrant talking about it on this show. Not about to rebrand anytime soon, because there's supernatural elements, there's thrilling elements, there's threat and there's violence. So it's in the wheelhouse. Absolutely, it is. But from a horror traditionalist point of view, it doesn't tick a few of those horror boxes. So as a horror movie, it probably lands with me as well on a B. I think maybe a B minus, just because of maybe a B minus because of where it sits as a genre piece for a horror hangout ranking. How many stars do I give to this movie as an overall? It's probably a solid 4. I really enjoyed it.
4.5, definitely.
Yeah, so it's a good movie from a star rating, but for a horror rating perspective, I think it's still a great quality thing. Fair. It's still got supernatural elements.
We're all B's, yeah. So we're all B's.
Not strictly horror though, so I'll give it a B minus. Great film technique, and also it is a director who, even with the horror isn't so overt. There's that touches we've seen. We spoke about A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. There's horror skill in there, and there's tension and thriller vibes in there as well that can be appreciated. And just had a lovely time watching it. And it's been lovely talking to you both about it today as well.
Definitely.
It sure has. It's been absolutely amazing. Thank you, Jaylan, for joining us. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you, guys.
Some good times, some good laughs, and we enjoyed and watching a film that I've never seen before, which is always a pleasure.
We've lived, we've laughed, and we've all learned.
We've lived, we've laughed, and learned about.
I learned a lot.
A different way to look at our A to F rating, which will probably never leave me.
See, this is where the poet comes, because the other part makes it sound like I don't understand. I'm like my fair lady. I need someone to teach me. So, but now here I'm back, like in action. Yeah, poetry.
Jaylan, where can our listeners find more from you? I know we talked about the Funny Gal Talk Show podcast, which I guess is on all podcast platforms. Can anyone follow you on Twitter or any
Definitely.
Find you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter and Instagram as Jaylan Salman, the same. And I have my poetry on theprose.com, and I have my YouTube channel where I post some artistic collaborations and just some fun clips and stuff like that, interviews with artists and stuff. So this is it for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will put all the links to that in the show notes so our listeners can find more from you. It would be amazing to get you back on the show again another time in the future.
Please get me, guys. This is bonkers. I want to do it again.
Maybe we'll go for like a straight up gnarly horror film, I reckon.
Yeah.
I reckon that could be quite fun. There we go then. So thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to our current patrons, including John Crin and Ben Scaife, Stephen Christopher, Laura Kendrick, Toby Miller, Lane Spencer, Ollie Child, Leslie Carlo, Julia Bilgren, Nick Spill, Troy Birch, Pazuzu, and Rosalind Harnias. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review and head over to the Facebook group Horror Hangout Board Advisors for more. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. If you just search Horror Hangout Podcast, you'll find us. Next week, we're not entirely sure. We're still kind of tweaking the order of episodes for March. I think by the time this episode's out, the lineup will also be out. So if you're just going to look on any of our social media platforms, we will have done it.
In no specific order, though, we've got it. We've got some degree of Fright Fest coverage. We've got the Terrified that you mentioned at the top of the show, Ben. We've got A.N. Other, which I'm not sure of the title. Do you know it, or is it TBC?
TBC, potentially. Scream 6, I think we're going to cover
Scream
this month.
6, of course. It's
new
6
release.
Scream month. My goodness.
A 6 Scream month. Yeah, and everything else will be on our social platforms, so please go and take a look. But there we go. Another episode in the bag. Thanks again, Jaylan. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's been so much fun. And of course, as always, thank you, Andy, for being a right horror dude.
Thank you, Ben, Jaylan, and everyone out there for being right horror dudes, wherever you may be, under a blood moon or otherwise. See you later, everybody.
See you later. Until next time. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.